Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and Ko-Fi link, coffee link, in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M-Iron26, Flat Earth Sage, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealons, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
But I'm learning it. I'm trying to jump in here when I can. Y'all are, y'all are real welcoming and seem like a good crew of people. So it's been a pleasure.
Have you been in this room before?
Yeah, a couple times. I try to jump on in the morning before I get too busy at work. And normally I don't go this long without somebody calling or something. So, but and then later on when I get home, I got shit to do, and then it's time for bed. So not really too much time to jump on during the week.
No swearing, please. Thank you for your support.
Billy's out doing construction. He verified that tub water was level this morning. Good check.
It's always level.
Always level. Thank you. Thank you for the reinforcement today, Billy.
Morning, John.
Morning, Nathan.
Hey, how you doing?
Morning.
Morning, Discord.
Well, we were talking all morning. Well, not all morning, since before you guys got here. Yeah, it seems when you guys come on that it goes quiet in Discord.
Ooh, yeah, they're scared for some reason.
Making sure Nathan doesn't have to pull levers and punch buttons.
And for a while, I didn't know if Divergent Droid was a real person or not.
He's more human than human, if that answers you.
He clicks the I'm not a robot when he's online.
That's right.
He is the most complex AI in the world, and no one can tell me any different.
John, did you get out in the servers, man?
If I do, I usually don't announce myself. Why?
What's your fervor for the fight these days? See, like Matrix is talking about, he just kind of smiles and nods when he hears things,
Globetards spilling their usual crap.
Yeah. So are you still, engaging aggressively, or, if you ever have, John, you get in the servers and mix it up?
No, that's just not me. I'm more of a keyboard warrior, but not anymore. I don't really care anymore.
Seems to be a growing mindset. Is the losing of the initiative to engage so much? I guess the bottomless pit fight. You know.
Well, all they can do is
Good.
like try to bring you down to their level when you engage with them, and that's what they'll immediately try to do.
I think the
See, I'd
biggest
like to be
issue.
able to. I'm sorry.
No, keep going, brother. Keep going.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's why I started to jump on here a little more, also because I'd like to be able to better articulate myself when it comes to coming back with answers to any kind of questions these guys have.
When you're new to the scene, it's all right when people hit you with, oh, but what about this and what about that? And they ask you dumb questions. After you've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years, you hear the same stupid comments over and over again. And after a while, it just gets, it makes your skin crawl. It's like, I told you last week, this is the formula. Go and look it up yourself. And it starts to burr you after a while, and you can understand why the likes of QE, Nathan, John, and a few of these other guys really start to get upset when these numpties come on, and they've been doing this for years. Get on here and ask the same stupid questions that the same stupid idiot asked last week. And yeah, you can understand why they do get upset.
A lot of time it's getting upset with the individual because the individual has been the one that keeps asking the question, you know, like just answered you out where you're begging the question and you're just asking it again. Like I didn't say anything. It's irritating.
Yeah, spot on. I've got no issue answering people's questions when they come here. It's when they deny your answer 5 times and go do-si-do round and round in a circle like you haven't said anything. Exactly, John. That's annoying.
Exhibit A, Jesse Path of Light.
Matthew.
The thing is, the people who come here and debate us aren't looking to become more enlightened. They're not looking to elucidate some cause of an effect they've observed. They're looking to affirm their bias. That's all they're looking to do. And they see us as challenging their bias, therefore shutting us down is what they're out to do, as opposed to listening to how they are wrong, because that's obviously not what they want to do when they're trying to affirm their bias, by showing how we're wrong.
Hey, I appreciate the talk, you guys. I gotta jump off. Things are getting busy.
You're good, bud.
Yeah, thanks again for your support.
That's a shame young Billy left. I think he'll enjoy it in about an hour when it starts to warm up.
He's generally in the chat.
He's new, fairly new, and he appreciates what's happening in this channel.
Yeah, and I'm really
So
grateful
rinse and
for
repeat.
it. He's been smashing the super chat, and typically at this time of year, everyone's really poor. So having a newbie that's keen to smash the super chat, he's keeping the lights on. So I'm grateful in more ways than one. I'm pretty sure I found
What's on the docket today, Chief?
I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure I found a video I wanted to cover. I can't remember if I actually got round to sending it myself before I just got distracted. I'll see if I can dig out what it was in my history.
Let me guess. Professor showing a curving straight line.
The idea that Matthew learns of the 20
You're breaking up, by the way. Your line's been terrible since you've been talking. Just so you know, John.
probably
How come some of you guys have really bad connections? What are you on, mobile phones, or what is the
Probably.
actual deal?
I don't know. He's dropped. He'll rejoin.
Well, you can hear Neil hitting the blinker. He's en route.
Okay.
I heard someone say mic check. Is that you, Neil?
Did anybody bloody hear me?
I heard you. I can hear you. We're off to a slow start today, Neil. It's all good, though.
I switched the internet line. Did that help my line any?
A little bit.
Oh, by the way, I was able to get in that server, no problem. So I'm good to go, but not if QE's not allowed. Politics server.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
You know, I was listening to the
today?
show. I forgot what show it was, but a lot of stuff you guys are missing. Like I brought up the fact that I didn't like how they use specific gravity, and what happened was my mute button got stuck, and it wouldn't allow me to go on mute. So that's why I was flipping out.
I think that's gravity holding that button down.
Yeah, Nathan was like, why do you want to go on mute when you got a good point? That wasn't it. I wanted to make sure I could get on mute when I was done, and it just wasn't going. This phone, man, drives me crazy.
Specific gravity involves weight. Weight is a downward vector relative to a horizontal plane. Why does that bother you?
I don't like the name. I don't like the title. Why did they title it that? It's a deception. Call it what it is. Relative density. You think it's by chance that they named it specific gravity? I know you don't.
Well, it's to clarify specific gravity from non-specific. There was so
I
much
agree with Anthony.
non-specific gravity. I'm just kidding, man. It's all BS.
Yeah,
There'll be a
because
third.
I agree.
Be looking out for the
when Anthony,
2024.
holy shit. May
Yeah,
I
that's it. Just
speak?
dig your heels in, Neil, and leave a great big massive bit of dead air.
Every time I tried to speak, he was speaking.
Yeah, but
I'm
then you
trying
both
to.
stopped. You're the one digging your heels in. That means when you get a couple of seconds that you're clearly going to get to talk, you have to talk.
No, I'm going to say, may I speak from now on? Now that I'm able to speak, when Anthony Riley said, when you agree with specific gravity, you're giving validity to gravity, and I agree.
Slippery right there.
One
You
more
give them
time.
the word. I say it's slippery right there. Do you give them the word? You know, do we incorporate their word?
Do your best not to.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing when you say specific gravity. You're giving them their freaking word. Call it what it is, relative density. Some things go up,
Measured,
some things go down, some things remain.
measured
Measured from where?
Specific to what?
Flat Earth.
You can read it all about this in my new book,
Math.
The Fourth Horizon.
It's a math formula. They got to quantify it.
Who's that, Stevie?
Yeah. That's why it's specific.
Yeah. It's specific.
I agree. They say we're going to be specific in hijacking relative density.
But relative density is not a downward vector. It's like you're talking about a fluid. It's not an inward vector either. So I don't really know where you get gravity from, specific gravity.
So you agree that's what it should be called?
That's just what it is called. I don't see the point in changing the word, but I understand the connections people try to make.
Not try, they will make.
These people.
You see, I noticed one thing. You give them an inch and they take a freaking mile. Not even a yard, a mile. You can't give them anything.
That's exactly what I was about to concur right there, Neil. I mean, it's the smallest little niche in the Achilles heel, and they'll infiltrate like water because they actively seek that weak point for good reason. So if it's not shored up in certain ways, I mean, if the debate's going to continue. Not that there's much of one strong argument from their side.
We got into this thing at the dinner table last night with my son. Like my other son, my middle guy, Josiah, he's got this really cool binocular that he got for Christmas. And he's been taking some really cool shots of the moon. Now, my other son is trying to tell me that they've got pictures of shadows on the moon where craters or little mountains are causing shadows on the moon. Therefore, it's a rock in space. So I said, so you mean to tell me that you think right now that we're spinning in space, orbiting the sun? Because that's what you're telling me. If you're telling me that you think the moon is a rock and it's orbiting, there's soil in the sky, like Nathan says.
And?
He said, that's not what I'm saying. But that's what you are saying.
Yeah,
it's premium oxygen-free soil.
One more time.
I said it's premium oxygen-free soil. You can get your hands on some, Neil.
Then he tells me that the sun, because my wife said, well, I've seen pictures and the sun just looks like a burning ball of fire. And then he said, it's not, it's plasma. And I said, you see, that's my point. Why can't you just admit that you do not know what the celestials are because nobody's been there?
And he says,
no. Then my littlest guy chimed in and said, what do you mean we observe it? I said, okay, that's step one. But after that, you can't do a thing. You observe, and this is what it looks like. Okay, but you cannot validate it because you cannot get there. Just like I've never been to France, but I can go there. I can validate that France exists. You could never do that so far with any of the celestials.
But how does pointing at something and declaring that's what it is prove that's what it is?
Stare and declare, John. Same thing like the church. Name it and claim it. Heliocentrist, stare and declare.
Why is it with these globetards, whenever you mention anything FE, they always point to every other direction except for what you're standing on? What is the deal with that?
Because all of their
Yeah,
evidence.
man.
Well, the reason is because all of their evidence for sphericity has been derived from the celestial sphere, which is the sky. But those measurements, which are inferred by a perspective view to be spherical, are then inferred to be the Earth. So therefore, their claims of sphericity, which are embedded in a flat plane measurement of a semicircle above your head, if you will, that's where they get it from. So that's why they lean on it. The ground is not curving, but you've got a curved celestial view, the celestial sphere. John was talking about it yesterday with Pity, saying it's kind of sad when you actually break down what they're doing. So to answer your question quite specifically, it's because their proof C's come from a flat plane measurement of the celestial sphere. And therefore that's the ground they're standing on when it's transposed back onto it? Well, according to them, yes. But that means that that's where they'll lean on, or where they'll lean when they're looking for proof.
Could it also be that they know they cannot ever validate it? So let's just throw it out there. They can never prove us wrong.
That's what has happened.
Yeah, they take you somewhere far, far away that nobody can get to, and then they teach you in school that this is what you're on, and this is the solar system, and here you are, and they take you in a classroom, you got a globe right in the middle, and they point and say, this is where you are. That never sat well with me.
And because I'm a teacher, you will respect my authority and you will accept everything I tell you as gospel.
Well, that was the shocking thing when I came to Flat Earth, because I was like, what do you mean? I learned it in school. Isn't it just like 2 + 2 = 4? You mean it's not science? What a shock that was for me.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sorry to change the subject real quick. When I just jumped in here, you guys were talking about politics server and the QE's banned there. He's definitely banned there. But there's a dude, Chris V, who's a moderator there. He came to this server a few weeks ago. And I'm wondering if Righteous, did you talk to him already?
B had talked to somebody. I'm just gonna ask B right now what happened with that.
But specifically about QE. Because Chris V came to this server a couple of weeks ago and he said we might do something about it. So I'm wondering if you or B have reached out to him. If not, I can reach out to him. Just let me know so we can resolve that before Friday.
Okay.
So just let me know. Thanks, bro. Sorry for interruption.
This is so strange to me. That's like who's the best quarterback now? Patty Mahomes. All right, you should come over here, but leave Patty Mahomes behind. QE's banned. What kind of nonsense is that?
Well, you know QE, he probably flipped out at somebody over there. It doesn't surprise me, but yeah, it is what it is, man.
It's like when what's his name was banned in Seinfeld. Who got banned from the fruit store? Kramer. And I don't know what's going on with the papayas.
Huey
Oh yeah, I remember
doesn't
what
have a lot of patience with divinity.
what happened now. It seems like the mod B is talking with has to go to maybe to a higher up, and that may take time. That's what
Oh,
we're
geez,
assuming.
what are we talking about?
All right,
Talking about
fair enough.
governments here? It's a Discord server.
It's a huge
Yeah.
Discord server, like 90,000. It's got to have a structure.
Oh shit.
The wheels of that Discord server turn very slow, Neil.
You might be all by yourself, Nathan, but you'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
I'm kind of mixed about it because I do agree with Adam. We got to put our foot in the ground, but then it's like we're leaving our general out there all by himself.
I don't
You
know what
never
big deal
take
is.
the
We just visited
general to the
another
front
Discord
line.
server. Big deal.
I didn't get that. Two of you are talking at the same time. What's
Sorry,
wrong
my
with you?
bad,
Stop
John.
rumpusing each other.
Go ahead, John.
You don't take a general to the front line.
Yeah, but that's exactly what's happening, right? Nathan's going to the front line, and there's nobody there. And I beg to
Nathan's
differ
more
with
of a
you.
lieutenant colonel.
Okay, in the old days, the kings fought. All right?
Not at the front, they didn't.
Oh, David fought at the front. He was actually supposed to be fighting at the front, but instead he was committing fornication with Bathsheba.
You don't put
Bro,
your king at the front of your army ever. It's
but you could.
simple
You
warfare.
in this case, you could. You got Nathan against 90,000. I'll put all my money on Nathan.
Me too. And that's not how it went
He
down.
didn't
If
hear
you
what
read
John
anything
said.
about David,
You didn't listen to what John said. John's not suggesting that I'm the king. Therefore, in terms of pecking order, there's absolutely no reason in this analogy that I shouldn't be at the front by John's estimation. And he's right. But what he's saying is, further up the pecking order, a strategy expert or whatever wouldn't be at the front line. Now, in this scenario, that's John. So what? QE. So what John is saying is, so what? So he's not at the front line. Who cares?
John is speaking in terms of military today. I'm speaking in terms of military yesteryear when the kings fought. Yes, David wouldn't put himself in the front, but that battle would take him to the front, and he never shied away. Neither did Benaniah or Joshua.
That's probably how Israel got conquered then.
No, Israel got conquered because of their own disobedience.
Okay, before we get
Never
into this,
by
right, the analogy's gone way too far now. Right, here's the equivalence. QE has trained me how to strip and fire a milligun against a lot of people with potato shooters. I think I'll be all right, Neil.
I said from the beginning you'll be fine. Let's go back. It's recorded, you know.
Should be good fun. Fun will be had by
Was
all.
that a yawn?
Yeah, I'm really tired.
Do they have like a structured debates over there, like they do at Earth Awakenings, or is it you go in there with the review of somebody's videos and the typical FED stuff?
Now I'm going in there to do a formal Q&A.
Okay.
You have to put your hand up in the Discord server and such like.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
What? You got to raise your hand?
Yep.
Not you guys,
That's
not the
it. I'm
panel
out of
members.
here.
Listen up. Not the panel members. All the rest of the folks,
I was meaning
except
to
the
have a word about
moderators,
that.
obviously.
Obviously, we can
What's
make
that?
exceptions to that rule, can't we? I mean, if we have
Yeah,
to,
we're gonna have the panel members free.
except Neil. Neil will have to raise his hand. Yes, Neil.
When is this taking place again? Friday?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Nathan, You're not supposed to give up the day. You just gave up the day. I fell right into that.
You asked me, what do you want? It's not that big a deal.
So yeah, Friday. Now people know today's Thursday. That's it. It's over. I'm out of here.
No, when the show is published, it'll be published on a Tuesday or something. So the fact that we're referring to what's happening tomorrow on Friday just makes very little sense on a recorded video, which this isn't going out live. Now, you just want all of the debates to be kind of timeless, which is to say that you don't pick them out and go, oh, right, this happened in the middle of May in 2017. You just get a gist of where you are in the debate based on show number. That's what I'm ideally pitching for. So it's not chronologically ordered in terms of the date or the day. So us talking about, look, it's going to be the weekend soon. It's like, that's a fine mentality if you're in an office and the people in the office is self-contained and, you know, their vibe is your vibe when it comes to the weekend or what day it is. But that's not the case. If you're watching this on a Sunday, you know, you're in a very different frame of mind to the office mentality on a Thursday, if you know what I mean. That's why I don't want the day mentioned. Anyway, I'm going to start pressing buttons. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, I got one more bone to pick with you. You don't have to respond. But I do not like when you say that you had a belief, therefore you felt like you had to prove it to everybody. You had more than a belief that back then. If you listen back to the shows, we had a lot of stuff before you're going to need a flat earth for that. We had gas pressure without containment. Then all right, when the Black Swan came on, it was over after that. But we had a lot of things. Could improve gravity. So I don't agree with that when you say you still had a belief. It's just me.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on this one, Neil. We've known for a long time. Definitely agree on this one.
Yeah, because
What
to
have we
me,
known?
once that ball was taken away, it's flat. That's it. That's how we observe it.
Well, see, you can know it's not a ball and use logical inference, understand it's flat. But if you don't know how to detail that to someone, then what are you doing?
No, I agree, but you can't say that you just had a belief and really know. Once that ball is gone and you know you're not on what you thought you were on your whole life, that's it. You know you're not on that anymore. You may not be able to break it down perfectly what you think you're on, but you know you're not on the ball anymore. So the belief is gone.
Yeah, no, that's the similar state to the guys who believe there are ether stuff are in. They've got a strong belief that it's true and that it will be figured out in a better way to be able to disseminate it to other people in future. But really all that is a belief, Neil. What you're describing, regardless of, well, I know it's not a ball and what else can it be? It's got to be flat. You're like, that's not a silver bullet. You know, you're not going to appeal to the guy who's got a fundamentalist religious belief in a ball with that. A measurement, on the other hand, is a very different ball game, if you ask me.
I agree. I agree with that, but I just don't agree that you just had a belief. Come on, we had a lot. This is some of the old shows.
To measure is to know. That's epistemologically where you get it from. That is, to take someone's measure is to know someone.
There was plenty of things out there that seem to work alongside the flat Earth that we now know is measured that way, like radar is a good example, or the pencil beam targeting system on the Sea Sparrow. Okay, how do I check that that's the case? You know what I mean? How much access do you have to radar or Sea Sparrow missiles? You don't. same goes with some of the NASA documentation about describing it specifically as flat when they're trying to educate an aviator in some regard to their task that they're going to fulfill. I'm not fulfilling the task. So as much as I can read it, and there's very little to read between the lines when they're saying it's flat and stationary, again, I don't necessarily class that as a silver bullet either. What we have now in terms of reference to the maps, reference to navigation, exploration of the world as it's expanded, that's pretty cut and dry detailing what the world is and how it's mapped, isn't it? That's what it is. So when you come to describe how those measurements are flat, and then describe how the systems have been put in place on the grid, the map, the latitude and longitude system, those things, people can easily relate to them and know how the map functions. Most people know how to use a map. So therefore they can relate to it on a level that is appreciative of how, once they know the system's been developed with a flat plane, you can appreciate that the system functions as a flat plane because it's been measured as a flat plane. It's no longer contentious, for me at least at that point. Very calming actually to think of it in those ways, because you just think this is a done deal. It's so accepted and understood that it functions in a way that could only permit it being flat. There's no other. It's almost like it goes without saying, but we have to say it because we're in this show. Certain aspects of the citations that do that as well, they say it explicitly, but they don't say because X, Y, and Z, because it goes without saying. You know, if you're referencing it as flat and it functions that way, you don't have to belabor that point. You just describe what you do, and what you do is in reference to a flat Earth. So that's it. That's good enough for me to say that's a silver bullet. That's the thing that everyone's been looking for the last 10 years. How do you know? Well, because we look at a horizon, and here's this complicated side view maths. That's their proof. You go, okay, well, what about all these flat maps and flat systems that have been used with the stars to plot out the territory and then discover new lands? That's how our mapping system worked then and now, and it's flat. That's the end. That's the end of the argument. There is no argument from that point forth.
So the argument wasn't over with the Black Swan.
The globe argument was their assertion in the positive was debunked. The modus tollens takes their positive assertion if Earth's a sphere, radius 3959 miles. Then the consequences of that claim are every distance to the horizon can be no more than the distance you say it will be if it's a physical obstruction. Well, if it's beyond that physical obstruction you claim it's going to be in the positive, then it isn't your positive claim. It's contrary to your positive claim to such a severe degree that your positive claim can never be proven to be true. So that undermines the positive assertion that is made by a globe belief in the first instance, that people don't even appreciate as a belief. They think it goes without saying, like we started this discussion, right? Because they've been indoctrinated into that religious belief at school. So it's not begging the question. We already know it's a sphere. No, that's begging the question. Not if I already know it. So that's where your starting point is. So you have to then point out what their positive assertion is, because they don't know they're making it. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It's a positive assertion that a glober makes. When they get to denying their positive assertion, it's clear that they don't know that it's a positive claim to be making. They just assume it's true. Fundamentalism at its core.
Yeah, but what's the name of the show? Flat Earth Debate, correct? Now, once the Black Swan comes out and the globe is gone, hello, then you're on a flat Earth. I understand the silver bullet, and I agree 100%. But as far as to say that you only had a belief that Earth is flat, I don't know. It don't sit well with me.
See, that's what the Globers do when they invalidate a null and then say their alternative is true. You can't really do that, can you? You didn't validate your alternative. You validated the null. Now you know what it's not. Doesn't mean you know
We're
what
not
it
talking
is.
science. Hold on. We're not talking science here. I
No,
didn't
we're
bring up
talking logic.
science. Right. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning. Good to have you all. We're going to do a quick fire session of housekeeping. We're going to try and do all of the questions so that at least once in each week of Flat Earth debate. We've got a full rendition of all the housekeeping questions. So we'll start with any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature.
Black Swan
Negative.
debunks.
Next.
Didn't hear the answer. Is that a no?
Pontchartrain.
Pontchartrain is evidence of Earth curve. This isn't going to go well, is it? It's going to be a dragging out of a claim. I'm sure I had Pontchartrain. Nobody's admitting to it. It gets like this sometimes.
Yeah, that was me. I was just saying what they normally claim.
Yeah, I've heard Pontchartrain described as a monument to Earth's curvature. There's a couple of problems with the specific Pontchartrain supplied by Soundly, where you've only got claimed curvature at a massive rate, bigger than the actual claimed curvature of Earth when hijacking flat plane measurements and differentials between eye level and surface level to assert that we have a physical geometric sphere edge and a radial value at 3959 miles. The images from Pontchartrain exceed that. In other words, you'd be on a tiny little ball based on the amount of curvature in one axis. So in the other axes, when you're claiming you've got this bridge that's bending into the distance, what about on the other axis, the axis of the horizon? If it's a ball, then it's a ball in all directions, not just on one axis. Secondly, that claim of Earth being a sphere radius 3959 to assert that you'd have some observable curvature relies on, as I've already detailed, measurements of Earth as flat. So to make the assertion in the first instance, to claim that you can parallel it with a photo in a load of crappy swamp air, needs a flat plane in the first instance to make the geometric claim that Earth's a sphere by reification. Hope that deals with Earth curve. Any other evidence of Earth curve, or should we move on? Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? I have to drop in Earth-based, otherwise I'll get all sorts of bicycle wheels.
If you want to assert the stars appear to be rotating, then you'll need a plane of reference to describe that rotation from. So no, there's no evidence that Earth's turning.
Much of the claim that Earth's a sphere is derived from those very measurements also. Go ahead from Discord.
I've had a couple of wines. It feels like it's spinning.
Does it?
That doesn't count, does it?
Does it feel like it's spinning, though?
I've had a few.
Oh, you've had a few. Australians. You're going to tell me you're a Kiwi now, aren't you?
No, I am not a Kiwi. Thank you.
No swearing.
My son told me yesterday that there's opposite star rotation in the south, that they do go from west to east. I told him, I said, you realize what you're saying right now?
Yeah, don't make that mistake. Don't be Planet Peterson. Don't be an idiot.
I told him, how could you have such an understanding of quantum mechanics and the double slit and the delayed choice quantum eraser, and you're going to tell me that you think that stars rotate from west to east?
It depends.
What's going on?
How much time has he spent on the equator? Me, a reasonable amount of time. I even honeymooned on the equator. Or were we south of the equator? Anyway, the point is that when I was down there, I still had the same apps on the phone, and I still looked at the stars, and yearned to have the telescope that I've now sold since having kids, and didn't have any of those things, but still looked up at the stars and observed what they did, and looked up on my app what I could see and where I could see it. So if you've got a reasonable grasp of where you are and what direction they're turning, because you're actually looking at them at the moment that you're looking at them, you don't forget that sort of thing. Whereas if you're just, oh, well, what happens south of the equator? I've never been, I don't know. Oh, they go in the opposite direction because we're on a ball. No, they don't. What are you babbling about? But that's the impression people are on because of the crazy delusions of having Earth rotation ascribed to star movement.
That means that the sun and moon would also have to come from east, from east going west. I'm sorry, from west going east, right?
I was gonna say,
if the stars are going opposite, the sun and moon will have to go opposite.
I get that mixed up too sometimes.
Yeah.
It's no problem. If you got the direction completely wrong, it wouldn't really matter. It's only when you make a claim within that inconsistency that's wrong. For example, chocolate was put in Coriolis effect claims for shortened flight durations, and the assertion suddenly comes that you've got a flight from, let's say it's Los Angeles to Charlotte, that's got a reduced flight time. You go, what? Yeah, that proves they're spinning. And you go, what? Spinning in the other direction? Now, having a visualized conception of how they say the ball spins and what that would do is where we obviously have to have an appreciation to debunk Coriolis effect. But for them, your average globetard, they don't even need to be able to conceptualize this stuff. Earth spins. That's it. That's like the comprehension level required, because everybody knows it spins. Do I need to know how it spins conceptually? No one's going to be challenging you on it. It's the understood rhetoric of the Western world. You don't really need to familiarise yourself with it. Oh, unless you're trying to prove how it ain't happening. And then you've got to be ultra familiar with it. But the people who oppose us are no better than your average globetard. Therefore, someone like Peterson, who thinks he's in opposition to us and oh so smart as he calls us dumb, will get it wrong. Because they haven't spent 10 years conceptualising it. But there we go.
Well, and there's a problem too, because a compass must be level and the needle must point north. So you need a flat plane for that. And longitude and latitude is based on a flat plane measurement. So it's not on a sphere. So the flat latitude, you need a flat Earth for.
Oh dear.
This is great. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
None
Well,
at
in the
all.
conversation, my son did say 93 million miles away, along with their claim that it's a burning ball of plasma. So there you have it.
It's all right. Where does he get his 93 million miles from? Do you know?
An
I
appeal
didn't
to
ask him that. I
consensus.
just shook my head.
Well, he's going to need a flat Earth for that measurement too.
You got it from an appeal to consensus fallacy.
No, he got it from a flat Earth.
Yeah, but Nathan, if I start breaking that down, he's not gonna get it. He's gonna deny it.
When you've got
Then
all
he'll
of these,
deny his own claim.
yeah, he'd have to deny his own claim. Perfect. You can't eradicate where these scholars, priests, have taken the measurements off a flat plane and then described them in a certain way, be it through orbital motion or Earth as a sphere, full stop. Those claims come from flat Earth measurements in the first instance. It doesn't matter which way you dice it, you quite literally have to deny your own claim when we point out the origin of the globe claim. Flat Earth measurements in all instances. Alberini on screen. Why have we got Alberini debunked on screen with him thinking about R? I'll tell you why. Because he's measured the height of the mountain off a flat plane and then derived an R value from the differential between surface level, that's flat, and eye level, that's parallel with flat Earth, to infer that there's a geometric point below surface level, nay, curve of the Earth. Well, he needed a flat plane like everybody needs a flat plane when they assert these stupid nonsense ideas of sphericity based on the priesthood giving you orbital motions after measuring a flat plane. They're getting away from it. So distance to the sun, big no. Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
None at all.
What about any scientific evidence of gravity?
If you're going
Don't
to try
start.
to describe gravity as weight, if you're going to try to describe gravity as weight, that's a linear downward vector, not an inward vector. So
The
even the
Etherites
term
say
gravity,
that.
Oh, you've rumpused the conclusion.
I did. Sorry.
even the term gravity requires a flat plane.
Absolutely. Go ahead, whoever it was from
I was
Discord.
going to say the Etherites identify gravity as static electricity.
Isn't static electricity static electricity?
That's what I said, but They have two different definitions.
I see. I mean, that's what the people do with gravity. It's a funny coincidence, that. Right, almost 50 people watching. Please share the show. We have got a video to cover today.
Nathan, they're almost there with ether. When they got the proof, they will be back. Sort of like a rumpus type thing.
I argued we were in that boat in the pre-show, didn't I? As flat earthers with beliefs. And you argued that, nah, it wasn't a belief. We just couldn't really fully explain it to other people in such a good way that they would believe you.
That's not what I said.
Having a belief.
That's not what I said. Not what I said. I said you saying you just had a belief is ridiculous because you still had the Black Swan. We still had gas pressure without containment. That debunks the vacuum of space. The Black Swan debunks that there's a globe. So to say that you just had a belief, I think is a stretch.
No, I don't think so. Even by your own estimation now, you're saying if someone comes along and tells me that the world is actually the Matrix as a positive claim, and you come along and debunk it by whatever means you debunk it, and then go, well, that tells me where we are and what we are. No, you debunking a positive claim that Earth's a sphere and we have a sky vacuum doesn't leave you in a fundamental understanding that the Earth is measured flat, which is what we're punting through 2024, because that is the position that all claims will start with. You couldn't have said that 2 years ago. I couldn't have said that 2 years ago. And I think there's a handful of people who do admittedly join this panel that could have said that 2 years ago. They'd just never been heard.
Oh my God! What's the name of the show? Is this the show? Is it called "What is the Earth versus the Globe" or "Flat Earth Debate"?
Yeah.
That would
So
just be
when you're
begging the
debating
question,
flat Earth and you debunk the globe, you're on a flat Earth.
That's not a true dichotomy, though. You don't know that it is a true dichotomy. You just don't know it's a true dichotomy when you put that to me in past tense.
Forget it. I was never on the ocean. I never went to, it was never flat. Water just is flat. Your pool is flat. Obviously, observably flat. But now we're going to say we just had a belief until this destruction of you're going to need a flat Earth for that comes in because Earth is measured flat. So everything else is just crap then. No, I'm not believing that.
Everything else didn't lead to a flat Earth proof. So every housekeeping question, though, so far, pretty much, I think, has had you're going to need a flat Earth for that tied into the question. Telling me we did that in 2022? We didn't. We didn't.
I'm not saying we did.
In order to prove something that is so fundamentally ingrained in people, that's Earth being a sphere, you have to have something that is super, super strong and really easy to understand. In the case of every single claim that you'll ever make ever will require a flat Earth measurement if you're going to infer the nature of our existence in the universe. Regardless if you believe that universe to be a sky vacuum or not, the ground beneath our feet, terra firma, is assumed to be a sphere by the majority of the Western world. So you've got to offer up something really, really, really good to convince them otherwise. You're telling me we haven't, you're trying to convince me we haven't walked the path we've walked, Neil. Now, if we had something that was so strong that people could listen to the show 3 years ago and go, oh, I don't need anything else. I appreciate how the world operates. And I also, further to that, appreciate that when someone offers me up a claim, I can do a bit of digging and find where the flat Earth was measured to get there. Once you've got that established, that will achieve the ends that I think you personally, which is why I'm having this conversation with you, Neil, wanted and have yearned for years on this show. When will people start waking up? When you start telling them that their proof took a flat Earth to make it. That's when they'll start waking up. You said earlier, there's no putting that to my son. And John replied, he'll have to deny his own claim. You show someone the origins of their measurement when they assert Earth's a sphere, what do? Accept that measurement that they've just used, if it's by way of an R value, measured off a flat plane by either Al-Biruni or minimum elevation angle measurements to Polaris, that's where they're going to get their starting point for their measurement. Previously, we've said you've just begged the question of R. No, they haven't. They had to have it back engineer into all the maps. So it had to work. When QE was telling us, no, it's set in stone. It's not. It's set in stone because they require it to back engineer into the physical reality that's measured flat. That R value that's measured circular in nature as a minimum to Polaris. It's not the outside edge of a sphere, but we can turn it into one. The priesthood, that is. Again, once you show them how they took flat plane measurements and turned them spherical, how are they going to deny the very origin of their claim? They can't. Now, there's nothing I could have said in previous years that could have let an audience member, as they are now, 55 people watching, please share the show, realise that Earth is flat with 2 minutes of fairly concise descriptions of how the world functions in all instances. I therefore declare that prior to now, if you can't convert somebody on the spot to the point where they're either left in cognitive dissonance or accepting that their own claim requires Earth to be measured flat, then all you have to offer that person is a belief. Because they can still, it doesn't matter if you say, well, they just have to have cognitive dissonance. If they can still accept sphericity of Earth with their claim that they offered, even if you debunked it, then you're not doing something right. If you take their claim and go, keep your claim, it needed a flat Earth in the first instance, here's how. Here's how the celestial sphere's made. Here's how the dome of the heavens has the territory mapped by way of a grid with latitude and longitude. That's been placed onto a sphere and then projected onto a tube to then be rolled out flat again. Here's the Mercator projection. There's your history of the measurements to give you what you think is a ball that never operates that way. You're always dealing with flat maps. Oh, what's that? You can tell me in years gone by it's a globe projection. Yeah, it is. And what about the latitude and longitude grid that's been wrapped around that ball? How was that measured to give you the ball? Oh, it was measured on a flat plane. So we've gone from measuring a flat plane to taking those measurements and wrapping them around a ball to projecting that ball onto a tube and rolling it out flat. Okay? That's why none of the maps would quote unquote work properly when you're all telling us that they're globe projections, but they're flat maps with a flat grid with circles being drawn on them. Because that's how the world actually operates. So you've got to go through this do-si-do rigmarole of converting things from flat to globe to back to flat again. And if you can explain that to an opponent who's just claimed that, no, the Mercator projection, for example, comes from a globe. It's a globe projection. And you say, yeah, and that globe came from a flat Earth measurement in physical reality off a flat plane. What are they going to do?
It's one of the reasons that ballers used to laugh at flat earthers when they would claim, what was that, Gleason's map? They would laugh at them because Gleason's map is a projection of a globe.
Okay, hold on, John. Hold on. You said the Black Swan. Once you stumbled across the Black Swan, it changed your whole way of thinking.
Because I thought I had two contradictory measurements, and that one of them was showing me a measurement of Earth curve, and then the rest of them were, measurements of a plane. So it was appeared to be flat, but wasn't.
That's Weasley. I'm sorry.
What do you want?
No freaking way.
What do you want? If you ask him to project himself back prior to being a flat earther, what do you want? Do you want him to get on bended knee for how he understood it to not be appearing curved, but it isn't because it is curved? That's how you process it if you're a normie.
Hold on. I'm not fighting against what you're saying. I'm just saying you can't just rule out everything else.
Who put Neil in this position where he's suddenly the grand poobah of knowing Earth's flat?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying you're throwing everything else out, saying that you just had a belief, when I don't think that's being honest. You did not just have a belief. You knew the Earth was flat. All right, finding the silver bullet took a little time, but now that we got it, you can't just discard everything else.
Not discarding anything. I'm streamlining things. There's a big difference.
Okay.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of this presupposed spherical Earth? We all know damn well it isn't.
I like the way you phrased that one.
Well, the idea of self-perpetuating would contradict the second law of thermodynamics.
Does it? Even in their time scale, if they've got... I appreciate the preposterousness of me supposing this, but from my understanding of their backstory with Thea, it is actually cooling down. The oversized molten iron core that was deposited by a planetary explosion in a heliocentric model derived from flat plane measurements would infer, by way of a story in reification, that another planet has deposited a bigger core that's slowly cooling. Therefore, it still fits in their timeline at 93 million mile distances and Big Bang ideas of how the world expanded. But in that particular model, Earth would have died off by now, as in the core would have cooled. Unless Thea smashed into us and deposited its juicy, delicious molten iron core inside ours and formed the moon with its debris. Therefore, the entropic process of cooling is still kind of accounted for in the story as I understood it, even though, as disclaimed, it's a reification beyond the measurement of a flat plane of a celestial sphere, then reified into globe model, then projected flat for mapping, and so on and so forth, John. But it does seem like they have incorporated a bit of entropy into that, even though the whole system defies the second law. No? Powerful silence. Maybe it's because he's disappeared. He's obviously had a connection problem. Right, well, we'll find more out from John when he returns, hopefully. Let's move on. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
No, that's an impossibility. How are you going to do that?
You can't. That guy yesterday that we were covering from Practical Navigator was alluding to this notion by saying that we've got curved angles with right angles in them. Shout out to Uncool Ben. FED team. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. God bless you all. And then a kissy smiley face. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm sure it's a film quote, right? Or it's a famous politician or something along those lines. Nixon or something. I don't know. Maybe someone from the chat will let me know. Have we missed any housekeeping question? Oh, yes, we have. A very important one that Neil leans on for a flat earth proof. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
That's misrepresenting me. That's not what I said. I said that destroys the fact that it's a globe. And no, you can't have gas pressure without containment.
What do you make of this, Adam? I'm being attacked because apparently when I suggest that it was merely a belief we had in flat Earth until we could demonstrate that it's measured that way in all instances, Neil saying, not so. It wasn't a belief back then. It just wasn't sufficient to convince anybody who opposed us. What we had up until then.
Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Churchill,
I think. Yeah. I would take the Black Swan as a good example of supporting you.
Thank you.
Supporting me?
Exactly
not you. No, supporting me.
No.
Well, you're out of here then, Nate. Get out of here, Adam.
Because when it was first cited, I used to go, no, it's not a flat Earth proof. It's proof, yeah, that the mathematics they're describing and what they're claiming is false, which is why we went to calculate that if you are still going to reify the horizon as the leading edge of your ball, it makes your ball this big. So it's a ball destroyer, the Black Swan. It's not a flat Earth proof. You can apply logical inference and laugh at how big the ball would have to be and how that in of itself destroys the heliocentric model. But to me, it's not a direct flat Earth proof. It's a great ball destroyer.
2 steps it took I remember doing it. I remember saying, okay, well, make it a flat Earth proof, and there was one inference and something else. There was 2 steps that you had to take to turn it into a flat Earth proof. You're like, right, so it's not directly provable, but by inference, you can then give your extrapolation of what the Black Swan destroying the globe would infer. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not going to stand in your way if there's certain things that I've even said this to QE in the past, right? When there were certain things that he was saying, this is a flat Earth proof, and I'm like, meh, I don't like it. And he's like, what's wrong with it? I'm like, I don't like it. Well, it doesn't change that it's proving flat Earth, would be the response from QE. I'm like, okay, but I don't like it. It's not for me. You know, it's not something I'm prepared to die on a hill for. When it comes to pencil beam lasers from gunships, I'm like, it's very interesting. It was very useful really early on in my journey to have somebody seemingly in authority running a very expensive piece of equipment and showing how it functions, and Earth being flat would be required for it to work. So yeah, very, very good. And I'm not going to stand in the way of anybody who does stand by that and go, that is my flat Earth proof. It proves Earth's flat. But I just didn't like it. Not that I was saying
But
it's
that's
bad.
not what I said.
When I say don't like it,
What I said.
don't misconstrue what I mean when I say don't like it. I'm not saying I don't like it because I think it's wrong. That's not what I mean either. Just want to get that clear.
Adam, that's not what I said either. I said you can't just discard everything else and say you were still holding on to a belief. We had a lot of stuff.
I had other things that proved it to me. So when I did my accelerometer data on a flight, making the statements back then that all the downs were parallel to each other. I didn't know how pertinent that would be now when we go into celestial navigation, etc., etc. But that was a point then. That was a proof then. I proved it to myself. Yeah. And to others with the data there. There's only one way those results could be, and that means all the downs are parallel. So I had proofs, flight. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about there. And Brian's got his proofs with flight. I'd agree with Nathan on the Seahawk Sparrow. It's not in the realms of your normal person's experience. So it can be just okay, yeah, it's a military thing, I'm sure that, you know what I mean? It doesn't prove it to, but aeroplanes do. Pretty much everybody's been on an aeroplane.
Yeah, but you're taking the data points. My objection is it's not renowned. What you're doing as an individual is too much at the other end of the extreme for me. In other words, no offense to you, Adam, but you're but one man. And I'm not saying you're wrong or that what you're presenting in terms of those data points that could be validated by someone else incorrect either. When I say I don't like it, it would be the same if Jaron was successful with his quote-unquote experiment, right? If it was successful, I'd still go, yeah, for the same reasons as the sea sparrow or you, right? The sea sparrow is the other end of the extreme, by the way. It's so beyond my reach to ever even dream of being at that button, operating it and seeing it function when it blows another boat up over what would be an Earth curve obstruction. You know what I mean? That isn't going to happen. But by the same token, yeah, I could go on a plane and get my data set to show that they're all perpendicular zeniths, or however you described it, parallel zeniths. Well, I can't remember the term you used. What was the term you used, just so it's your words, not mine?
All the downs were parallel.
All the downs are parallel. Yeah, that's correct. But mapping is a nice balance between you can operate this and function with this tool to save your life if you're trained on how to use it. And in so doing, as a mere mortal, you can appreciate that the only way it could function is flat. And in order to have it, it doesn't matter if all those lines that we got from Polaris are distorted to all hell, so long as the system with that grid remains referenceable in some form, you can stagger your way through all the distorted maps because of the globe bullshit that's been inserted when they project them onto tubes. But my point is that so long as you can appreciate how it's functioning as a layman, you immediately have a wider understanding of how that map must function as a whole, and does for everybody else. So, like when you say, well, I could go to China, I don't have to. I have been to China, but I can't think of somewhere else off the top of my head I haven't been. Brazil. I could go to Brazil, but I haven't, and, you know, therefore I can just infer that it is there. Well, when you come to mapping and navigation, it's similar to the guy who hasn't been to Brazil or the guy who hasn't been to China. You know China's there. There's plenty of evidence to suggest it's there and how it's operating and what's going on there. You might not know the ins and outs of their political system, and what you do know is probably propagandized, but you're pretty sure China exists, right? Well, in the same way, when you know how a map works and how it's functioning, even if I roll out a Chinese map for you, you're going to go, yeah, I'm pretty sure that all of this topographical details with the isobars or whatever they call them going up to show the heights of the mountains with respect to a horizontal plane of reference is how it works. And the way and reason for it working that way is because of the way it's going to function with the stars that are above us, plotted and mapped and measured off a flat plane. So that kind of good level of understanding and mapping strikes that balance between you could do it, find out that all downs are parallel on a plane with your own data points, versus you could be on a warship firing a pencil beam at something over the horizon. It isn't over the horizon, but you'll never get to verify this. Mapping's that perfect. It covers the whole world, because that's what it is, it's mapping. And there's no isolated circumstance where one part of the world's going to work differently to another in terms of how sea level works, for example. And it's all nice and general and universally accepted and worldwide covering. So for me, this is the proof, because it's directly related to the world when you talk about navigation and mapping. Flying over one journey and gathering your data points, or referencing what a warship does in respect to the horizon, or debunking what the globe says the horizon does, but it doesn't with the Black Swan. None of those were up to what I consider to be my standard. Now, it's not like I've got super high standards or anything. It's just when I go, yeah, what would you offer if you're going to give me your elevator pitch on Earth being flat? And it's measured that way. That's why all the maps are flat. They've all been mapped with the stars off a flat plane. That's how Earth's been measured. If you're going to utilise the tool of mapping, you'll be plotting it flat as well with circles. Ding! See you later. Earth's measured flat. That'd be my elevator pitch done because of a good understanding of mapping. Now try and explain that in an elevator pitch to me with the Sea Sparrow missile or your flight without me being able to get out the elevator and go, it's just some dude. How do I know his all down to parallel thing actually even makes any sense? I didn't even really understand it. But I was taught how map works in geography. Go on.
Adam,
Okay,
can you?
about...
I gotta be an idiot. What does that mean? I don't understand.
What, all downs are parallel?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I can't.
Ding! Floor 7. Thank you for travelling elevators.
If you look at what Nathan's claiming, he's saying it's mapped, measured, and navigated flat. Well, that's kind of what I was showing there. I was measuring it flat, demonstrating how the flat plane traversed, how the plane traversed the flat plane, yeah, and demonstrated that with measurement. That's what that did. We kind of linked that one. I understand the point. It's a lot more referenceable. The other one I'd look at that to me was a great proof was all the laser tests over certain miles. You know, all you've got to convince somebody there is, do lasers go in straight lines?
Yeah. I mean, it's a combination
of all of it. Yeah, but Nathan, you flew on a plane, right?
Adam's confirmation of all parallel down on his plane with his accelerometer reference points, all measured by him, lines up with, in other words, he did it already, right, Adam? Well, that ties in with how all zeniths are parallel in celestial navigation. But that's on so much of a grand and applicable or usable scale by any layman that what you have done then bolsters what I'm calling a silver bullet. Doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wouldn't agree with Neil, though. I would have said I can prove it to you back then. I was happy. I had proofs. I've not been believing for a long time.
That's my only point.
Now, the only thing is, that proving it to yourself is sufficient for me. am I able to prove it to other people sufficient to their standards? And I think that's what Nathan's saying. He's now got something he's actually happy to argue.
And I agree with that. I agree. My question is, what took us so long to figure out everything was coming from a flat plane? When I hear it said, I was like, how did that get past everybody?
Yeah, it's a good question. Very good question. I think it's just the path that we were led along. You know, a lot of people that we were in discussions with about the nature of Earth have now gone off on La La Land quests for Tartaria and Ether and whatever else, Bitcoin, you name it. They've all segued off onto various different paths before they've got to what I am now describing in a very black and white manner as being the proof that they didn't have up until then. So most of them are of the attitude, yeah, I do know it's flat, but, you know, I wouldn't really want to get into an argument with you about it because that's very depressing. As opposed to, yeah, it's flat. It's measured that way. Did we cover all the housekeeping questions? We did gas pressure without a container, did we not?
Most of the starts on.
Yes, we did.
Oakley dokley. Well, we do actually have a video that we're going to cover today. Let's see if I can find it. I think I've made it too small. Have I got rid of it accidentally? Oh, there it is. Okay, so not exactly sure how I get to the videographer's name. Danny Draws is the name of this videographer, and it's a fairly short video and very similar in vein to what we did yesterday. So, as is always the case, I'm going to give you a share link to this videographer, so you can go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, with a view to hopefully getting a response with a link to our video. So let's just bring up the chat so you can see what I'm doing in the live stream chat. We are obviously live now, and can't really make that make sense if you're watching a recording, but nevertheless, we are live now, and you can go and click on that link. You can see it in the live stream chat whizzing its way by now, and I would appreciate it if you did actually do this. So yesterday's show, although it's always the way, when I think the show's been fantastic, it gets lower numbers than I would have hoped for when appealing to absolutely everybody to share yesterday's show. Nevertheless, that's just the way it goes. You got a 3-for-1 in yesterday's show. Today we're definitely not going to do that. But yeah, please let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully that's given you enough time to actually do it, and we'll get into it, and we'll get some ideas from Discord and G+ about what they feel about the state of this extremely popular video.
Who's this from? Who's recommended it? Sorry.
Task Force X.
Okay, well, that's all gone horribly wrong. Let's just load it up again.
Is the Earth flat? No, it's not. But why is there still people in 2023 who believe that the Earth is actually flat? And why? The greatest puzzle game in the world?
Why does that keep happening when I try and pause it?
It's because it's a short, and it
doesn't like me pausing it. Hey, my apologies to you in the audience who are trying to figure out why I can't pause this video. I'll give it a third bash. If I fail miserably, we'll just have to listen to it all the way through, perhaps.
Is the Earth flat? No, it's not. But why is there still people in 2023 who believe that the Earth is actually flat? And why are there thousands of them? Let me listen.
There, it's that pause button at the top. Okay, so the first thing I was going to cover is him describing it as a belief immediately. So in answer to whoever asked that question, why is it that we're in this state of affairs now, is because it's peddled as a belief. Now, it's because I believe that that's projection. Why would it be that we have to fight in false dichotomy with our belief in a flat earth versus their belief in a sphere? And they even phrase it that way. So at some subconscious level, people appreciate that the globe is a belief, and then it seems reasonable to stack it up in false dichotomy when they get to this subject matter. Why are there thousands of people that appreciate it? Because that's the way the world is presented to everybody. So at some level, there's going to be an appreciation of it, even if the arguments that thus far have been presented for it haven't been the greatest of arguments. There is going to be a deep understanding at a fundamental level ingrained in everybody when they just appreciate how the world presents itself to them. They in no way have any inference that Earth has sphericity to it, beyond measurements that are taken from a flat plane and then used by clever priests to make you believe that you can reify that flat plane measurement into a sphere, which you can't. But that also is a belief. Your globe belief, that is.
Off some of their beliefs, and you can be the judge on whether or not this is crazy. One,
Here we're going to now assess a few straw men that will be put out into the feast of nonsense that this guy believes are our beliefs.
they believe that any astronauts who go to space are either visually confused by the atmosphere, that the government
We believe that astronauts that go up to space are visually confused by the atmosphere. Right, let's just pull that apart.
I don't think so, do you?
Go ahead,
No,
Dan.
they're just liars.
One more time.
No, they're just liars. That's what I would say about an astronaut now. Anybody that claims they've gone to space, second law of thermodynamics violation, to me is a liar. It's not something you cast at everyone at NASA, but those that claim they've been there are clearly lying.
I completely agree. There's very few people we can actually categorize as liars. People who say they've been in a sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation, outer space is fake, they're liars. Now, as for why flat earthers would be assumed by this animator to think that astronauts in a sky vacuum violation of natural law would have trouble with the atmosphere, atmosphere is an oxymoron. That is to say, atmo is air. That's a mixture of gases. Gases take the shape of their containment in all instances. The pressure they develop is the force exerted on the walls of said container. Now, to have this diagram with its crude animation style is to very starkly show the problem, because he's got a black line around air that is unbonded. That is to say, it is free to move in all directions. Now, if this black line the animator has put for the atmosphere oxymoron was a container, then the earth beneath could have pressure, which is to say the gas is produced at ground level, or in the case of water vapor, at sea level, and then goes up, defying gravity, but we won't get into that for this description. Upon defying gravity and going up, it could press on the walls of the container and maintain pressure. Now, in reality, there is no barrier in the heliocentric model for the gas at pressure that we are definitely breathing. We do definitely have gas at pressure. But this crumpled artistic area with stars would be a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, an area of volume vast in nature that the gas we breathe would fill instantaneously, in line with entropic law, second law of thermodynamics. So this oversimplification of a second law of thermodynamics violation isn't something we assert that men who lie about being in said second law of thermodynamics violation have an issue with. This is a poor straw man. Nobody's asserting that liars in space have a problem with the atmosphere oxymoron.
government pays them off, or that they get
Pays the mob? Sorry, what? In all my days, I don't recall any flat earther making mob associations to the globe. Can anybody?
Yeah, Neil. I mean, he's on the panel right now.
Okay, that is awkward.
Did he say mob or did he say pays them off?
Maybe you're more American than I. Maybe I just misheard him. I daren't rewind it. Let's continue.
secretly intoxicated while going to space. Although
So flat earthers say that liars in velcroed together spacesuits in a second law of thermodynamics violation are drunk. No, Buzz Aldrin is a drunk. He's also a liar who claimed to have gone to the moon via a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr, that the gas he traversed to get there didn't disperse into. Total nonsense. But what's that? We say they're drunks? No, Buzz Aldrin is a drunk.
I doubt NASA would encourage somebody to drunk drive a spaceship.
Nobody's driving to space in any ship. Ships that go to useful places and find land move along the ocean in past historic data. As for finding soil in the sky by way of a second law of thermodynamics violation journey, that's never going to happen. You've been misled.
But whatever. See, flat Earth.
Did anybody want to add anything? I'm just sort of stealing all of the points here. If anybody's got something they want to add to any of those points thus far before we continue, feel free. or a general reply to the notions of how flat Earth's being presented.
Yeah, I can't believe that in 2024 they're still talking about this and they're bringing it to us. This is ridiculous.
Bringing what, Neil?
I think
So I say I've got to defend the fact that I think astronauts are drunk when they go to space, which is why they think they go to space. It's not even a coherent straw man.
True.
This is one of the more popular videos that I found while searching,
Earthers only believe in what they see, even though there's...
Is he putting that at our door? Flat Earthers don't believe what they see. Or is he suggesting we say the Globers don't believe what they see? Because I know what he's about to reference. He's about to reference the horizon.
evidence of a round Earth just by looking at the horizon.
Okie dokie. Adam, do you want to take this one?
Well, I'm assuming now. I don't know which way he's going to go. He's obviously going to reference it. Is he referencing it for? Let's have a little look. So I can't actually see the screen, even though there's evidence of a round Earth, just by looking at the horizon. So he is going to reify the horizon into the leading edge of a ball. That's his number one proof, by the sounds of things, of why it's a ball. So, Black Swan.
He's gonna reify that horizontal is the effect coming from a ball. Okay.
My main issue is he's got it from a plane at altitude. So this is wrong on so many levels, because even by their own claims, you can't see left to right Earth curvature from the altitude that a plane would give you. Furthermore, the very definition of a horizon and what it is practically applied in this very aircraft defies the notion of it actually having any curvature to it. You're utilising it to establish a horizontal plane to level the aircraft with. Level. That's not curving. But you're going to use the same horizon that the pilot's levelling the aircraft with to say that it's got a curve, when the very rhetoric of heliocentrism defies the nature of the horizon as being curved from a commercial airline pilot's height. Just doesn't understand his own rhetoric.
Being curved? That's what they want to do. They want to, and I'm going to keep drilling. So you're telling me that is Earth curve. Happy. Let's move forward with the Black Swan.
Yeah. If Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon, this bit this giant hand's pointing at, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in Earth curve maths. The distance to the horizon in the Black Swan image, unlike this horizon, has something that can demarcate distance to that horizon. That is to say, the Black Swan image has got two oil rigs that are fixed. Now, at a 1 foot observer height, you've got a 1.2 mile physical obstruction called Earth curve that is claimed by Earth curve mathematics, as detailed a moment ago, to block your view of the oil rigs. Now, that claimed to be physical obstruction based on the assumption measured from flat plane that Earth's a sphere is demonstrably beyond 10 miles, where it's marked with fixed locations in the form of these oil rigs. So instead of it being at 1.2 miles and blocking the oil rigs, the hill, Earth curve, has got up and walked 15 miles beyond where it's supposed to be blocking. Now, yesterday we had an example of somebody saying a hill would be, I think it was Planet Peterson in his video, was saying Earth curve's like a bridge. And I said, okay, imagine a bridge where you approach it and you can't see past the crest of the bridge, but beyond the crest of the bridge, there's a fire hydrant. Yeah? Well, the example of the Black Swan, by equivalence to Earth curve being the bridge, would be that you walk up to a certain point and you can never see the fire hydrant because the bridge is blocking it. But then one day, you get to that same point, and the bridge is beyond the fire hydrant. Behind it. Because that's what we're showing in the Black Swan. Now, the fact that physical hills don't get up and move beyond the things they're blocking debunks the assertion that we've got a physical hill in the form of Earth curve to block anything ever. Now, this image, wishy-washy nonsense that it is, doesn't give us any of that. Doesn't show us anything to do with the horizon. It's just a picture of the horizon from an aeroplane that functionally uses that same tool to level the aircraft. We have debunked the mathematical assertion that could be made, and isn't by this videographer, that this is a geometric limitation to your view. And based on it being a geometric limitation to your view, it's asserted to have curvature in his curved lens at distance. Okay, well then it would have geometric limitations if it's a hill blocking your view. And we've debunked them.
Therefore, Earth is flat.
They're not therefore Earth's not flat. Therefore, Earth's not a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles with a physical geometric limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in their Earth curve mathematics. That's what it debunks. You can want it to prove a flat Earth all you like, Neil. It doesn't.
Name of the show is Flat Earth Debate.
Yeah?
Not triangular debate, not rectangular debate, Flat Earth Debate. When we've debunked the sphere, flat Earth. It's obviously observably flat. You said it millions of times.
Hey, there's also people who come and argue we're a brain in a jar. I tried to make this argument earlier. Someone comes along and argues we're a brain in a jar, aka Matrix. You disprove their assertion. And that proves it's flat. No. Making a positive claim and having it fail to pad out or be disproven by logical inference or any other means doesn't prove any contrapositive whatsoever. It just debunks the initial positive claim. If your initial positive claim is Earth is a sphere, and you can show that the limitations and parameters of said sphere, 3959 miles radius, doesn't work, that hills that should get in your way by limitations of said geometry are beyond, way, way beyond any physical inference you could ever make about a horizon, then that simply debunks the original positive assertion, Neil. Doesn't prove it's flat. You can take the horizon what it's used for, like I did with the guy in the cockpit, can't you? That's an inference after the fact, though. And then say how something ancillary to his claim that the horizon bends is being utilised in practical application by the pilot. But that's ancillary to the Black Swan, isn't it, Neil?
Yeah, but you're missing what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. Tell me what you're saying and I'll disagree with it if it's wrong or right, or not disagree if it's right. Just disagree if it's wrong. Go ahead. If I don't understand, fill me in.
You have over 1,000 shows where we are saying Earth is flat. You can't just discard them all. Yes,
I'm not.
I believe the silver bullet we got is the measurement. Yes, but once the Black Swan came out and it annihilated the globe, there's no radius. It's flat. What else? I don't know what else I could tell you.
Neil's saying if you only have two choices, globe or flat, Black Swan disproves the globe, Earth is flat. Correct?
Something like that, but there's other things. I mean, we just didn't have. You can't say we just had a belief. I didn't just have a belief. Now I appreciate what we have now.
The moment you use the tool level, man, and the moment you understand it, what it stands for, what it means, it's not a belief after that.
Mic check. Good morning, guys.
Hello, Chocolate.
What else is funny is how multiple flat earthers have tried to prove the government.
Tried to prove the what?
Wrong. And then they
tried to prove the government wrong. I don't know. I can't really speak for all flat earthers in this stereotype. Do we generally address how wrong the government is?
We don't, but other people do.
What are people specifically in the flat earth community suggesting is wrong in the government that would get a fairly large-ish YouTuber to imply it by stereotyping fallacy? What are
You
we
can't
doing in
trust the
this?
government. The government lies. They lie about everything. This is all from the Feast of Nonsense.
Anybody else? I don't really know.
The only thing I can think is NASA, because it's American. So that would be a government department. That would be that.
Okay, I mean, I'll grant him that. A lot of people
Personally, I
go
think
hoax
that's the
hunting
silliest.
and anomaly hunting in NASA footage. So yeah, okay, fine.
But honestly, that's the silliest stereotyping fallacy ever. Because there are how many people who think they live on a globe that don't believe the government for anything,
That's kind of
except
why I
maybe
said
that
it.
they live
Yeah,
on a globe. You know what
exactly.
I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous. So
Not
that at
believing
flat
your
earthers
government
when
is
they
standard fare, isn't it, for most normies? If you don't trust the government generally, as in any government, and you're in any way politicized, then you'll be into the, is it Hegelian dialectic? You'll be opposing the left or opposing the right, right? You're well and truly into opposing something about government, even if it's only the 50% opposing side. So this is garbage. I mean, just I don't see how this connects to a stereotype for flat earthers. And this is just appealing to the consensus by saying these crazy flat earthers just don't trust any government structure, whereas you just don't trust the right, or you just don't trust the left, right? You know what I mean? It's like, this is crap.
Well, we've discussed this before as their position on trust. So that's the basket that you throw us in. Oh, you guys just don't trust anything that we trust. Because again, according to the article, it's not about evidence, not about arguments. It's about trust. So yeah, that's why
Poisoning the well on steroids.
One more time, Billy Philly.
I said it's poisoning the well on steroids, this guy.
Yes,
What's
just
that,
like the other
Billy
guy.
Philly?
It's one massive giant stereotype sandwich, as Adam called the other guy last time, right?
They just end up proving themselves wrong instead, honestly.
Baseless assertion. Proving ourselves about what? After declaring that we say governments are wrong, and you're going to have a giant star-spangled banner sticking out of the White House in your animation. So what? Praise government. Praise Big Brother.
Just why would the government care enough to lie about what shaped the...
To govern you. What the hell do you think? Is this for real? Why would the government want to keep you under control when that's their primary purpose? Do some people not understand what government is?
Currently, my government is doing stupid things like trying to regulate what kind of cars you drive and what kind of stove you have in your house. So to say, why would they care about what the shape of the world is? It's like, you might want to actually take a look around, buddy.
It just seems like at a fundamental level, people don't understand what government's for.
planet is. There is literally no point. Tragically.
Okay.
This has been going on for a long time, Nathan. Do you remember when they told you not to use aerosol cans because it'll destroy the ozone layer?
Yeah.
That was right from the government.
There's plenty of examples of government putting out lies. I don't get it. When people have stone cold examples of admitted lies from the government, they won't still want to stereotype flat earthers as not trusting governments, even though in this instance on this platform we barely give it a mention. You know, it's I mean, we're, not to be derogatory in that we used to be there kind of way, but I suspect that most of us are way past that. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm just delusional. I think I'm someplace that everyone around me is that they're not. I don't know. Am I reacting badly to this because of my perceived delusion of the videographer? Or am I on the same channel as everyone else in this discussion?
No, he's just gone left field, hasn't he? Because he can't support his ball. So, and frankly, he doesn't appear to have looked at any of our claims. Maybe he'll address the one that's on screen now. But he's just making straw men up and addressing them and demonstrating, I think as Chocolate said, is there 99% of normal all believers don't trust the government. It's kind of the state of the world today.
in their ways, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. If they think the world is flat, the world is absolutely 0% changed by their beliefs. So if you meet...
Nah, we're not basing any of this on beliefs, though. That's the problem for you. Your belief in a globe has been based on flat Earth measurements. Now, I'm going to stomp this out. We don't have a belief. Further to that, your reified spheres come from a flat Earth in terms of your measurements.
Meet one, cite our school system, clap them on...
School system's what's led you to the automatic assumption that you were on a sphere, because you weren't educated well enough to know where those inferences have come from. That would be flat Earth measurements. It's the gall of these people.
...the back and say, you do you. Because we know...
You do you. Who cares what you do? If the Earth's been measured, navigated, mapped, built on, flat, matters not what you believe. You do you. Oh, will. Don't change anything in regards to the nature of our reality now, though, does it? Chocolate.
Isn't it funny how they talk about us having belief, but let them argue long enough, and what will they tell us? Oh, I mean, it's too big. You can't see the curvature. No, you have to measure it flat because it's too big. So who's the one again that has a belief? I'm sorry. Correct me again. Thanks.
Yeah, they have mitigation as opposed to proof, don't they? When it gets down to the nitty-gritty, even in the past, when you look past on some of the discussions, you end up arguing with their mitigation most of the time. Earth so biggy, therefore measured flatty. In years gone by, we would have gone into the no. It's not that it's so big. Here's your radial value and how you say you can see Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Nowadays, 2024 on, so measured flat then. that's it, isn't it? What else needs to be said beyond what's that? You mitigate for the fact that we measure it flat by saying it's just really, really big. I see. Measured flat then. Yes, Nathan. We've all had a massive change of heart in how we will approach this.
We're waiting for you to play.
Oh, I was waiting for a reaction from you guys. I think that's the end of his video.
Obviously, the Earth is just one giant donut.
I wonder where he got that from. Sounds like a toroidal field claim that somebody's perpetuated out into the ether, and so far this is the only thing he's openly mocked by laughing at it. Toroidal donut-shaped Earth. Yeah, we've got ether believers who think that the entire world is some counterpoint space in a toroidal field. It's utter nonsense and only worthy of stereotype and mocking of flat earthers who work really hard to show our Earth's measured flat.
But I hope
Didn't
you
Brenda
never
claim
have...
donut too?
Yeah, so I was going to say, isn't that Brenda's claim, Neil?
That's one individual who has said Earth is a donut or something like that.
No, she said that the hole in the donut is space-time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Chocolate got it down,
the
boy.
donut is space-time. I want Brian to expand on something to do that yesterday, especially as I really annoyed him. So just for the humorous effect of, I heard 1 is the most important number, and as soon as I heard Brian say it, I'm like, 1 is the loneliest. I thought I can't help sing that at the end of the outro, and I did so as I was pressing buttons and not really listening to what Brian was saying. And he's like, you cut me off 4 seconds before the most important point to sing a song. Why do you mock me?
Yeah, and you got it wrong. You said 9 is the most important number.
Doesn't
not
matter.
1.
Wow, way to...
That'll have annoyed him more.
Perhaps. But just for the record, my intention was in absolutely no way to undermine Brian's point. You know, don't get me wrong, I have had my tete-a-tetes with Brian about numerology and my offering whether or not I think it's valid in certain circumstances, but that wasn't what I was trying to achieve, right? Nevertheless, that's a bit of a segue from what I would hope Brian will educate us in, and that's the something that's seen really obvious. I told this to my wife yesterday, right? So we were watching the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, and right at the end, it showed some of the interdimensional animations, a bit like this guy. Let's just transition away from the screen, it's a bit boring. And what it showed is your typical diagram of a well with a planet in it. And I took her through what was actually being shown. And I'm like, well, here's an X and a Y axis. and they're giving you your length and breadth, even though it's two-dimensional because it's on a screen, you can infer that it has three-dimensionality by the way that it's been, animated, right? She's like, yeah, okay, I see those 2 dimensions. I'm like, well, what's this then? This well bit with the planet in it? She's like, well, that's the time dimension. I'm like, okay, so where's the up and down dimension then? And she scratches her head and it's like, well, there doesn't seem to be one, but they can't draw that. You can't draw the time. You can't draw the up and down dimension and the time dimension when they're trying to visually represent the time dimension. I'm like, yeah, it's on every single diagram, but all of the diagrams just show a ball in a well, a ball floating in a well with lattice work making the well up. Well, that's only even if you accept that it's on a 2-dimensional screen, a 3-dimensional representation of whatever they're drawing. A cool picture of a ball not quite falling down a hole, right? But that's still 3-dimensional. Well, a couple of days ago, Brian pointed something out that seems so bloody obvious now, that's what Einstein has effectively done. He's incorporated in a description of the 4th dimension into an already existing 3rd dimension. Now, when we've gone through the process that they will take you by regression to a 2-dimensional object, so you can, as a piece of paper drawing man, think about how you'd be in a 3rd dimension and how difficult that would be for you 2-dimensionally to do, and likewise conceptualizing the 4th dimension that doesn't exist as a mere 3-dimensional entity is hard and nay impossible because it doesn't exist, but you can conceptualize it now that you've had the regression to 2-dimensionality and scaled it up once. Well, you can follow that process through all the way up to 10 dimensions, as we have done on a couple of shows, right? Well, in so doing, the Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian aspect of how they give us these quasi-interdimensional travel through films like Spider-Man and various other interdimensional movies and propaganda is just to take what is essentially just length, breadth, and depth, change one of them to time, and blag that your 3D representation on a 2D screen gives you a window to a conceptualization of a 4th dimension that doesn't exist. Now, in that very long path that I've just taken you in, and that was a summary I might add, right? You can then have what is length, breadth, and depth? No, what is shown is length, breadth, and time, that 4th dimension. Obviously, we can't show it you any other way, but now you do understand fully that we have a 4th dimension. Make sense? Yes, Nathan, we all paid close attention. Well, I'm glad you did. It was worth the waffle, clearly. Right, I'm going to do a plug. If no one else is going to respond to my gravitational waffle about dimensions. It's the main problem with all the movies that I've watched recently. They all seem to incorporate some sort of interdimensionality into their plot. And it just gets tiresome when you know that it's complete garbage and nonsense that's come from Einstein and expanded on in books like A Brief History of Time. You're like, this is nonsense. And
yeah, but it makes excellent movies, though.
I don't think it does. You guys like Interstellar, and I'm like, it's a dimension-based plot that just is eradicated by what we do here. Therefore, I find it really difficult to suspend disbelief. Time travel's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the imagination part. Come on, you could time travel. What about what do you call it? That show we watched with Doc Brown, Back to the Future.
So
It was a great movie. That's the whole thing. That's what it's made for, Nathan. Fantasy.
Maybe, but when I'm on the show quite literally telling a fundamentalist zealot that you can't travel time, there is no time dimension to walk along. You can't walk on time. You can't rewind and fast forward time. You can't do any of the things that conceptually are shown as a well. Well, you can walk along that dimension if you were to conceptualize your 2D screen, 3D rendered image with a well with a ball above it. Or even better still, when they drag out a piece of rubber and just drop a ball in it. Go, there you go, there's time. No, you've replaced depth when you drop something into a rubber piece of material and say that that's space-time. Here's your conception of space-time. But you can physically walk along that rubber to the middle of the time dimension that they're saying is conceptually illustrated when they stretch a bit of rubber and throw a heavy ball in the middle. So you can really easily understand how I can say that isn't traveling through time, though, is it? I can just walk along the rubber to the bottom of where the ball is. No, that would be like you travelling along a geodesic, I hear you cry. No, you can't travel on geodesics. Well, if you can rewind to find me yelling that at a fundy, how can I suspend disbelief about Michael J. Fox? Come on, man. I can't do it. You might be able to. But you with your flat earth belief and that, maybe you can suspend disbelief because you're still yearning for the globe that you haven't quite proven yet.
Nathan, that's the whole point. It makes great movies, fantasy. Without the heliocentric model, or not model, without all of this nonsense, you're going to get boring movies.
Don't agree.
Not necessary. And this is the thing. You don't have to destroy all your time travel stuff. It's only where you incorporate it as an Einsteinian methodology, where time is actually part of the component of the fabric of space.
The Matrix isn't globe related at all. Matrix is quantum mechanics based. Simulacra and simulation is a derivation in fantasy of the principles we have scientifically validated in quantum mechanics. We talk about it when we talk about what would a tree sound like in a woods at the edge of the rendered reality if no one was there. There is no tree is the answer. Why do we come to that conclusion? Because without a knower and information to exist, there is nothing in physical reality existing. Well, that can be extrapolated out into books like Simulacra and Simulation, heavily influencing things like The Matrix, which is fantastic fantasy. You telling me we need a globe?
Still, how do you...
I don't agree with that. The tree falling in the woods, there's no sound. Come on.
Well, there is
Still
no
a
tree.
sound.
No, you're talking
There
about
is
a tree.
A tree.
You're missing the point.
Oh, God.
You're missing the point. Your tree in your woods is a pre-existing tree that's got books written about it and people living near it and will walk past it next week. That's not the tree we're talking about.
Back to the time travel thing. How do you travel something without orthogonality?
You don't. But you can travel on a path that has 3 dimensions to it. And if you can substitute one of those dimensions for a time dimension and claim that you're just too stupid to conceptualize a dimension beyond your physical experience, therefore this dimension of down in replacement of the x-axis or whichever one it's replacing in their diagram is a time dimension, you dumbo, that you just couldn't conceptualize it till I showed you this little bent lattice work with a ball dangling in it. Now you understand the 4th dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time that we can travel, John. Do I need to explain how you would be if you were a 2-dimensional piece of paper?
So down is the direction of time.
Yes. You can call it a geodesic, and then I can explain what that was. If you're understanding it a bit too well, I can confuse you with geodesics.
So you try
down
to make...
requires a plane of reference.
Oh, I didn't see where you were going. I love it. What was that? I need a plane of reference. You're right, I do. In fact, when Einstein's describing the whole of the known universe, he describes it as a plane of reference too, doesn't he? You're going to need a flat earth for this space-time. Genius. Go on, Adam.
I'm still trying to save. So like I said, it's only if you conceptualize time as a component of space, as in matter, up, down, left, right, that it is an effector, that it destroys your fantasy world. So, see, I won't watch stuff like Interstellar and, like I said, potatoes in space and all that kind of nonsense, because it is just in that globe lie. But I still enjoy Star Wars, Doctor Who. They go to planets and they use time travel and stuff. But I'm not offended with any Einsteinian notions. And I'm happy with things like H.G. Wells as time travel. He's not invoking this combination mathematics where time becomes a component of an effector of matter. Time travel never used to be like that. Didn't have to be. It's only in this model that time is an excuse for gravity, isn't it? Remember, it's that warping that's that's what's perverting a good bit of fantasy for you.
Yeah,
but I agree with, like I say, Potatoes in Space and Interstellars and Sandra Bullock one and all those that are literally just pretty CGI set in the fake paradigm. I don't enjoy them.
But that's not the point. The point is, John, if somebody invites you somewhere and tells you you could come and everybody else but leave your wife home, that's kind of an insult, no?
I'm so knackered.
Oh.
I sounded drunk in my outro. I could hardly get my words out once I put the lights on. I'm like, bloody hell, this is bright. This is brighter than normal. I couldn't concentrate. And then I'm slurring my words. I'm not drunk, by the way. I'm just knackered.
Cough, cough.
Yeah, Nathan, if you're loyal, you'd tell him if QE's not welcome, then we don't want to be there. That's a team.
Being sorted, Neil.
But it's
There's no guarantee on that.
So what did QE actually do to rub someone the wrong way?
He was just being QE. QE is QE.
one of the mods tried to step into the debate on behalf of a baller, and QE tuned him up.
No, he threatened them actually, but come on.
Yeah,
So
it's a
QE
good
being
tune-up.
QE.
Yeah. But the analogy with like the life thing that you give Neil, it's not the same with QE, and this is business. You know what I mean?
This is business, Tom, and this man is taking it very, very personal. Yeah, but sometimes, John, I understand what you're saying. It's business. Sometimes you got to take a stand and say, "Excuse me." No, then that's fine. Then we don't want to come.
Well, I could see not going back after this time because there's not been a whole lot of time. It's a huge server. There's, I'm sure different levels of things that have to be done. So if he doesn't get unbanned, I wouldn't go back.
QE got banned.
Rocking in it.
I could see someone taking offense to saying you're going to tear their head off and defecate down their neck.
Oh, QE.
Is that what he did?
That's the tune-up.
No, we don't know that's what he said. He's just making an example that could be an undoubted cause of him getting banned. We're not suggesting that is the cause.
Well, how did the debate go, John?
Hold on, he's not far off.
Yeah, he definitely didn't defecate. I can bet on that one for sure.
Well, how did the debate go, John?
Debate.
With QE that you're talking about.
Oh, I don't know. I was just, like Nathan said, just saying one of the many possibilities of why he got banned. I wasn't there.
Talking about QE on a politics. Talk about various things. And QE just, got a little maybe aggressive with somebody, I'm sure it was well deserved.
QE's got an itch on the trigger. That's QE. So, but like, you know, science fiction, if these are the types of topics in these debates, when you even break down the term science fiction, you know, you're really kind of talking about pseudoscience fiction. Possibly an insult to fiction. But that can be frustrating. You get in a debate, you talk about something like time. You know, the Globe will bring out things like, I'm sure all you guys remember, if a man goes into space and he returns, then everybody will be older and he wouldn't have aged. See? What a leap. What a leap.
Yeah, that's Einstein as well.
Yeah, that's Interstellar. That's exactly what happened. He didn't age, and he had to watch his daughter die. But he was still a young man.
See, you present that to people and they think that's how it is because it's actually been claimed that that's how it is. So baseless.
Now, my son said they did an experiment.
Yeah, they'll say
and
they
time
send stuff
did
into
move
orbit.
slower.
Yeah, they'll say they send a clock up into orbit.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, they sent a smiling monkey in a helmet up there too, right?
What, up to the second law of thermodynamics, sky vacuum in an orbital motion derived from a measurement of a flat plane, precluding it from moving around in a spherical motion. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're inventing that proof. I'm pretty sure they haven't sent any clocks to sky vacuums. Just saying.
My son said it was a plane, like 2 planes or something, and actually time did move slower.
I see.
Or faster, one or the other.
What was your response to that, Neil? I know I've given one already, but it wasn't the correct response. What would be the correct response, though, in your estimation?
I forgot what I said. What would be the correct response?
What's the naturally occurring phenomena that's being observed here? Is it clocks?
Yeah, you did say experiment.
Is it clocks that naturally occurring clocks that we see deviating in time? Correct.
No. He'll say no. They just used it to show you that time does move slower. Has nothing to do with the clocks.
Use what? The Michelson-Morley? Oh, I mean the clocks. Yeah, naturally occurring phenomena is what you need if you're going to be doing something that's asserting how the nature of the world that we inhabit is operating. That's fundamentally science, isn't it, Neil? What's science interested in?
That's correct.
The physical and natural world. If you're going to say that time, that's a concept we've arbitrarily ascribed to how we experience our existence in the known universe, that is conceptual. It's useful. We can describe how our passage of it's hard to do it without using the word time when you're defining time, right? But nevertheless, it's conceptual. Well, if you can convince a man that that concept is actually a place that you can go, a reason for getting old when your daughter's whatever she's doing, I forgot what you said in Stella. It's the daughter getting old as he stays the same age. Well, you convince people of anything if you can take them to another dimension.
Yeah, but they did it so eloquently in Interstellar. Great freaking movie. Total fantasy, but it was a great movie.
Movies are crap. All modern movies seem to be crap, in my opinion.
If you did take a clock into a plane and you flew a plane and it got a different time than the one you found, then didn't you just show that plane level affected how that clock worked? That's the best you got, isn't it?
Well, isn't that a technology issue?
Yeah, but I mean, even as a technological issue, what's it proven?
Listen, these were things that they put on us right in the beginning. Look, the feather and the brick, dropping them in supposed space, and they both land at the same time, right? Dropping them in a vacuum. These were all parlor tricks that were presented to us when this whole thing started.
Yeah, they would drop things and they would fall down, and they thought that proved what again?
That gravity exists.
Gravity, bitches. That's a quote.
Come on. Neil deGrasse Tyson drops the mic and says gravity, right? And what you just said. That's a Neil deGrasse Tyson statement. And he drops the mic. But in another question, he says gravity, what is it? We don't know. Next question.
He's consistent on those jelly rolls, though.
So relative to the flat plane, in the vertical vector, it goes down. And
You're going to need a flat earth for that. So that knocks out gravity. That knocks out balls in space.
It is.
Yeah, John, you ended the argument. That is nothing to. It's over. Like, nobody will come here. You got to be foolish to come here and try and defend your religion, right? That's why nobody comes. There's no more Lobers come out to play, eh? It's gone. It's over. It's done.
Nah, you got to encourage, man. Hey, Wilbur, come on in. Water's warm. Everything's fine. We got snacks in the back. Just come on in and prove that we live on a magic spinning water ball playing around in the back. That's awesome. Why not?
Watch your wig, though.
Just a bunch of calm hippos, right? Hippos ain't dangerous till you go in their freaking pond and they bite you. You ever see a hippo eating watermelons and stuff? Terrifying.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, I'd like to know a little more about water and the formulas for water, curvature, over distance. I'd like to get that nailed.
What do you mean?
Down. Well, they would have to apply a formula at some point, the globe, for curving water. Over distance, it must necessarily begin convexity. I just want to hear them put a number to the formula.
If I could speak to that, there's this thing that I saw one time that a globe proponent during a debate was brought as evidence, and it was an extremely long. I forget what it was for, but it was an extremely long thing of it had water in it, and I guess it showed it low at one end, and in the middle it showed it a little higher, and then towards the other end it was lower again. So that was their proof of curved water. Anybody ever seen that?
Well, they'll always go to meniscus or a range of. But meanwhile, the level is oriented by water, so it must have a curvature formula, same as divergence of plumb bob. Must be a sphere. I want to hear it.
There may be, there is no formula for that, because level and surface are always a horizontal plane if you're referencing it to reality.
You're absolutely right, John. But just to Put a spotlight on the clown shoes here, curving water, diverging plumb, raking horizontal, right? All the stuff that they incorporate. See, already have them pegged on 3959. I could come up with the formula myself, but I want to hear it, the official formula. They're locked into 3959. If they've already got what they deem as a true sea level, which is the height, the total seawater from the center of the sphere Earth. So they will label that as true sea level, not a real term other than in that world. But see, so they invoke these terminologies that don't exist. More than one horizon, for example, right? These are all explanations as to why they can't explain the original question. Typical goalpost moving. But I want to hear it. I want to hear the formula. I want to lock it in. I want to see it on paper and have them go refer to it over and over.
Well, why are you banging on the sphere door? We have measurements now. We know everything. We know what it is now. Everything is taken from a flat plane. So why bang on the sphere door anymore? They don't have any
Well, there's no
measurements. You're
need
never
to.
going to get them. You're wasting your breath.
Yeah, you will. I'll tell you this, because they locked into 3959. The reason we say you see too far is because they locked into that number. And watch them scramble now, which they are doing.
Who says we see too far? Hold on. Who says that?
When you see those oil rigs, you're seeing too far on the globe.
You might be seeing too far. I'm not. I'm just seeing oil rigs and the horizon behind it, which is the most important thing.
That's correct. Correct. And you see how they scramble to try to explain why you see too far, because they locked into that number. I like them locking into numbers. I like that. But it's just like Jesse talking about.
Not sure how locked in they are to that number, being that one of the first responses we got was if the Earth is a globe with a radius of 3959 miles, that statement was a straw man. I don't know if you remember that. That was one of the first responses to the Black Swan. Oh, we don't claim it's a globe of 3959 miles, even though that's literally their claim for years and years and years. So I don't know how locked in they are, or they might be locked in until it doesn't work anymore. Then they're not so locked in. You know what I mean?
Well, school book exhibit A. It doesn't matter what Craig says. They say 3959, right there in the school book to your children. That's all I care about. I could care less about.
Yeah. So what we need to do now is we need to get new school books of how Earth is measured and how the lands were laid out and plotted, how maps were laid out and plotted from a flat Earth. Right? That's the way you're going to get through.
Welcome to Fed.
Change his name to Flat Earth Education. So it's spelled F-E-E. And yes, there will be a fee.
That's why this channel is important.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's an underrated channel, I'd say.
Underrated is an understatement. Should be thousands here by now. But they suppressed us, and they did a great job of doing it.
Back on the locking them down. Jesse Path of Light is an example of the vernacular parrying that they do, that they seek, like a template that they use, that is. So I asked Jesse about the rig and seeing too far on a globe and what he thought about that. He can't say he can't give you he chose not to give a direct answer. His answer was that can't happen on a flat earth either. It wasn't that, yeah, those rigs show that that can't happen on a globe. His answer was that can't happen on a flat earth either. Just interesting wording. See, they don't want to be locked down. That's part of the game. You lock them down, they can't wiggle. They love to wiggle. Is this flat line flat? Well, not really. Is anything really flat? These are the kind of answers you get till they want to use something that's concrete.
Some of these guys, like Jesse, Peter the Great, are intelligent enough to understand that we're right, but they have bought into this game for so long that they can't flip. Because if they do, all of their followers will look at them and go, oh, wow, you're a numpty.
Where are you getting this from?
That's from what I've seen of people. Just life experience.
Okay, what in your experience makes you think that they know we're right, but they just can't admit it?
Because of some of the stupid statements they come out with and the constant cyclic arguments that they have. Like the asking of the same question every single week for the same person.
I'll continue so long as it's profitable on YouTube, but in the same way Brian the other day was saying, well, based on Jaron being capable of so much more, therefore his stupid, crappy claims that called experiments are beneath him, therefore he can only be motivated in such a way. This is no different, right? They're zealots. In their mind, they'll have the thing they thought was right that was proven wrong reasserted in their own brain as right, because, like when I went, Adam, yeah, you're just one man with your always down being parallel. That's the process they go through. But it's not that they appreciate that you're right. They think, nah, my rhetoric's still stronger and more correct. It's like, but it's been demonstrated wrong. That's not going through their head, in my opinion, because they're not saying that. Unless you can show me an example where they are saying it. I get your inference, though, and I'm not trying to demean you by saying, yeah, you can extrapolate that out from how they behave, and so can Brian, but until they explicitly state it, I'm just going to go, don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I would just say they're zealots. Leave it at that.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I get that. There are zealots out there. Some of them are just hardcore. This is how it's going to be. Full stop. The end. Shut up. I win. But there's some of them that seem to me, you just get a feeling from them that they're trying their best to keep the game going. But you know they've got nothing. You can just see it in them. The way they talk, it's a tone. And there's just something about them that says that you know you're on the wrong team, but you've got to keep this going because your friends are going to look down on you if you flip.
You know what's funny about all that? If this experience that we're all in right now, we were all truly alive, walking fear, there would be such an overwhelming amount of evidence for us too, on the ground. But if you were able to fly above whole structure of it, with that pretty much sums it up. Here it is, folks, in its entirety, right? That should be, if that were real, why even argue about the ground? Here's the whole earth right here with all this. They don't lean on that. They'll argue about triangles on the ground being circles. Why don't they resort to what should be an overwhelming preponderance of evidence, 24/7 evidence, continuing to come in? They're not provided with any of that. They look at those the CGI space aspects like, we better not. Right? We better not really use that as a reference because it sucks. If space were real and people were out there, don't you think we'd be pointing the cameras back at Earth, really watching the cloud, watching the activity of the planet? Planes flying.
Roto, you sound like you're back in 2015. Come on.
I'm just saying, man, if it were so real, right, that we wouldn't even be here. There'd be no real debate. It would have long been settled. When you can capture the entirety of the place that you live in because you're above it, right? I mean, should be the end of the game right there, but they don't refer to that as evidence. I mean, you'll hear a couple of these little YouTubers kind of talk about, NASA and why would they lie, stuff like that. They're not bringing out, space footage as Earth proof because the footage is lame, for one.
Isn't that what
There's
the
so many
blue model was about? Like that.
Again, John.
What's that, John?
Exactly, John. That's what it was for, the blue marble. 100% correct. Showing the world what we live on. And the game changed.
That's right.
The game changed when no two were the same.
People started paying attention. Remember the days when no one paid attention?
22 different pictures of Earth.
If somebody got a video of people coming out of the wardrobe in Narnia, believe it?
Well, yeah, if you say it's true and people see it actually happening and it's not on the news as a fiction, it's on the news as real, then people will believe anything.
You can believe that your daughter is older than you. Your daughter is older than you.
I feel like a lot of people just don't even care anymore. And that was one of the hardest things for me to realize lately is, as much as I want people to know the truth, as much as I want people to open their eyes to, what is reality, they just don't care. And it's a sad thing.
That's normal. I mean, really, when you think about who actually cares, people are so busy with the to and fro of the day. You can kind of equate that off a sample size of who's actually paying attention in any given classroom. What kind of person comes back after class is over saying, "Hey, teacher, I want to know a little more about what you were saying." There's not many. That's fine. That's why people are governed. They don't want to care. You do it for me. But you guys care.
Yeah, my hope is that more people begin to care as we figure out better, more successful ways of, getting our point across. I guess in a world full of cognitive dissonance, it's almost impossible.
I think it's
we'll
moving in
slowly, maybe.
It feels like it's moving in more of the psychology of that. More and more people are getting tired of fighting about it. more and more people are going through the consequence of talking to other people about it. They've ruined relationships and made decisions. I don't want to do that anymore. This kind of thing, you know.
You know, that's what made me start reading more into psychology lately, or starting on that to pour some of my time into to gain some knowledge in, because that's kind of how we are held into our old beliefs of the globe. You know, it was a psychological tactic from mainstream. You know, all the stuff from the past, the programming through TV, all that. But they
It's
succeeded
funny how they
with
call
that
it
psychological.
programming, right? The TV program.
Exactly. I was going to say earlier, I was thinking about it, and the reason these people talk about ether so much when they try to construct this model that they can't really prove right now, you know, the reason that is, and I'm sure you guys already understand this, is that when we say gravity is, you know, made up, you know, it's not a force per se, and we give them reasons as to why. They're like, well, what is it? And a lot of people, I feel, they feel like we need to answer them as to what it is. So they're just, you know, spitballing more or less.
Yeah, they say this is the answer for gravity. It's what do you call it? That dielectric acceleration. No need for gravity. Things go down because of dielectric acceleration, or whatever they claim. Static electricity, or electrostatics, whatever it is. I don't know what it is today. Could be something else tomorrow. But John, is there a downward vector refracted? Is he still here?
If there was a downward vector, would that negate the existence of an upward one?
Never mind the clothes.
Just saying.
See, there's another wiggle. When you say the word vertical, yeah, to the globe it's going to be down. Although that string can go to the heavens. Is it also up? They won't say that. What is?
No, that's what
What
John's
is
trying
it?
to say. You gotta with the globe, you gotta go in. There is no down in the globe. In. They hijacked it.
Very specifically in, Neil, to the exact center, the exact walnut-sized center, where all gravity is originated, pulling all things down to that fine point in perfect concert every day. It's a beautiful thing, that center of Earth.
Oh, hold up. But gravity's originated there? That's interesting.
It has to be if it's pulling everything
wasn't
towards
that
it.
supposedly claimed to be made because of gravity? So which one came first?
Well, Michio Kaku now is moving the goalpost to where, because it's so silly to invoke gravity as the center of Earth, it is now, by his own admission, he's lied to us. They have lied to us, he said. We've lied to you. Gravity is now a pushing force from on high.
Wait. When did he say that? He said we lied?
Yeah, we lied to you. Gravity is not a pulling force. It's a pushing force now.
I never heard that.
Yeah, it'll be coming in at an angle before you know it.
Angle.
Juicy. Good stuff.
The bottom line is Earth is measured flat, navigated flat, everything flat. So I don't care what they say anymore. It's over. It's done. Game over, man.
Ah, man, somebody's gonna come tell us how I am personally sticking sideways to a magical spinning water ball flying around in a vacuum, moving around another gas ball in said vacuum at 66,600 miles per hour. Please, somebody tell me how that's
Hey,
real.
there'll be a
How'd they get
gypsy
those
wagon rolling up real
measurements?
soon.
Whoa. How'd they get those measurements of you spinning on that water ball? That means we're orbiting, right?
I don't know. That would be for them to tell me because that's the story I was told.
It's right by the hair tonic.
On the side of the ball.
Water is really the key element, isn't it, though?
That's a big one for me.
It cuts past all topography, water, because of its consistent behavior and visual proof of its behavior. So if what we know is there's a huge body of it somewhere, call it the sea, and we understand water's behavior, the consistency of it, meaning 100% of the time over all time from all eyeballs that have ever witnessed water, it's been consistent. So now we have different size bodies of it, plus its behavior. Therefore, what? Show otherwise.
And when I realized that my friends in Australia were just over there, you know, like if I'm next to some water and they're next to some water, it's basically, you know, going to be the same level. If it's the sea, of course, and that they're just over there, not around on the other side, you know. And I can't believe I ever thought that.
If I'm on a boat in the sea and the sea is raging, and I grab two scoops of water out of it in 2 cups, and it's no long, and it's at rest in those cups, that shows you what the sea would do if it were at rest. Lie flat, obey, as it always has done.
I don't like this anymore.
What's rubbing on you, Neil?
I'm feeling icky talking about all these old proofs that we used to come up with. I'm starting to side with Nathan now. I think you're right, Nathan. Once the silver bullet is Earth is measured flat, I can't hear all of this other stuff. It's making me feel dirty.
Well, go by a spirit level, Neil, and rekindle your love affair. Level water. It'll never let you down. More loyal than the best of wives.
Yeah, but it just sounds like he's just still chasing the debunking of a sphere. I don't know. I'm getting in and out because I'm running in and out of the car.
Nah, it's quite showing you the plane of it all. Simply, magnificently. Too easy, actually. Not enough sizzle in good old flat water.
Moment of silence for the ball.
Yep. Pouring one out. It's been real.
Level water is the argument. If you had to explain the whole topic, everything in 2 words, level water,
Yes, sir.
in my opinion. That is the argument.
I'd say measured flat, 2 words.
See you around.
Hey,
See ya
Matrix.
flat.
How are you, brother? Unless you follow the laws of geometry of not so flat earth. If anybody can define that, if anybody knows what the guy is talking about. The laws of geometry of not so flat earth, where the spherical triangles exist. Does anybody know what the practical navigators are talking about?
Spherical triangles is a contradiction.
It won't be applied.
I guess there exist in the laws of geometry.
What's the meaning? What's the meaning of a triangle? Give me the definition of a triangle.
Brother.
3 straight sides.
I didn't hear any spherical in that. So what's this you speak of spherical triangles?
That's what I'm wondering. Does anybody knows where those laws of geometry of not so flat earth are? That's what we're trying to find, Neil. Don't blame me, bro.
It can be a thought exercise. It won't be utilized in reality. There'll be no spherical aspect of the calculations in reality. Just something you read. Kind of like abstract math. Used to spherical trig. It doesn't mean that there's a sphere when you put triangles on a circle. It doesn't mean, oh, therefore we live on a globe, because you can contemplate spherical trig. The reason we use triangles and not circles is because it applies to the way the world presents itself. So we know water's flat, for example. There's a baseline of the triangle we're trying to get. It's real simple. No need to think too much.
So, Rado, you telling me you can't take these angles to the center of the spherical Earth, try to make a spherical triangle like that?
Well, you know what? You could take it 1,000 miles in the air. You wanted to, but water, since you're on it, is a great place. I'd advise doing it there. You know, so really what they're doing when they're taking it to the center of a circle is that's just the cartoon of it, isn't it?
I don't know, not center of the circle, center of a sphere.
Right. Well, we know we're not, when we're on the water, we're not there, are we? So it's just a visual. We're not in the middle of a sphere. We're on the water. So when they say that, they're invoking that spherical trig stuff, trying to give you a visual so you don't forget you're on a globe. You could take out that whole spherical aspect of what they're showing you and just use the flat part. They just use the flat stuff and just draw a big circle around it.
Hey, dude, is a spherical triangle kind of like a triangular circle?
With a circle with 3 angles.
Right.
That are
That
proven to
sounds
be
just about
180
right.
degrees
Yep.
within
Yeah.
the
A triangular circle.
Circle with three
Mhm.
angles.
Don't let them do it.
Yeah, I think we got a
Don't
new
let 'em-
definition right there, man.
Yeah.
That sounds like a contradiction to me.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
can
it sure
expect
does.
you can expect the sidestep on everything that makes sense.
Well, Neil, we don't exactly have to operate at the really is level, do it. We were given permission, remember?
Yeah.
Who said that again? Who's the one that said that?
George Booser.
Look, how do you remember all of these quotes and the people that make these quotes?
I don't know. Same way I remember rap songs from like when I was 5. I don't know.
And then when you're not here, I got to hear people butchering them. It's like, oh
Well,
man, where's chocolate?
It's funny. I'll come up with some lyrics out of my head that I haven't heard in 25 years. Too bad they weren't singing about anything important, right?
The Humpty Hump. Doing the Humpty Hump. Do it, baby. Nathan, you with us, bud? Coffee time. Coffee's level, by the way, guys. Enjoy that.
Yo, man. So listen, you guys don't know what the sun is, right?
I do.
Like Planet Peterson says, what's wrong with his sun? The sun being a ball of hydrogen and helium in vacuum. You know what I mean? If you don't know, if you can replace his fantasy. He says flat earthers don't know what the sun is. So what's wrong with my explanation? What do you got to say to that, bro?
Planet Peterson got up.
He claims the sun is
I'm on the
all of
street. I'm
hydrogen.
on the street and come up with an explanation for anything. So why would he assert that that's anything without actual evidence to back it up?
Through my telescope, I don't see a burning ball of hydrogen, that's for sure. But that's just my observation and my opinion.
Well, the Google says it's a ball of hydrogen and helium. Now what? And if you don't know what it is, then what's wrong with that? What the Google says.
Well, your daughter can be older than you. What's wrong with that? Pretty sure Peterson got up this morning clipping on his dingy toenail like everybody else. So he wants to say the sun is what?
A ball of hydrogen and helium. But yeah, dude, it's visible. Like man, like he's like biting his nails live on stream. He's sweating. He's really nervous when he's talking about. He had a debate with somebody else. Not a debate. He just published a video about something, and he always brings flat Earth up. He's like, flat Earthers, I'll tell you, like, he admitted something like, flat Earthers today know a lot more than flat Earthers, let's say, 200 years ago during the Columbus era. He's a trip, man. But he's definitely anti-FE, and he's a Dunning-Kruger if there is one. Like living, walking contradiction, cognitus, Dunning-Kruger.
It's sad when
Wait,
you're
is
an
that
actual.
is that the same guy? I'm sorry. Hold up. Is that the
No,
same
go ahead,
guy
man.
that said it would be inappropriate to measure the curvature of the Earth?
Yes.
Is that guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
That's my dude. I gotta go. I don't know which video that quote is in, but it's great.
With
Yeah, I'll send you
mathematics,
a clip
everything.
when I get home, Chuck.
Yeah,
Who is it?
inappropriate account for curvature. That is so. Just got to put that term in a snow globe. Shake that up a little bit.
That's so 2024, right? That's what you got in 2024. It would be inappropriate to measure the curvature, guy. What do you mean? Why would we do that?
Inappropriate, right? We won't be applying anything here to account for things we say. Inappropriate to account for curvature.
Like surveyors or whatever, they just kind of, this is the claim anyways, they assume that things are flat. That's because they only measure over like tens or hundreds of meters at a time, and so there's no point in accounting for the curvature on that scale. It would be inappropriate to do so because it's not going to severely affect what you're doing, like surveyors or whatever.
Inappropriate at all times for every surveyor at any location. You'll never appropriate it otherwise. It's always 100% of the time inappropriate to account for that. City to city, side by side, big Venn diagrams full of local level. Ah, yeah. And the zeniths are parallel.
I'm just impressed how quickly it's gone from us arguing about their mitigation to them going, yeah, it would be inappropriate to measure curve. Yeah, they measure it flat. I just can't believe how quickly that sort of turnaround's come about.
That was my point in making that statement. Like, are you serious? Like, this is so 2024.
Quick and effective.
Flatty, right?
Yep, loving the concessions so far. Concessions is Nathan's business, and business is good.
It's almost too good because they're literally telling us how they measure it flat. Like, is that? I mean, what business is that?
Well, we haven't got them to say it's measured flat, but we are getting them to say it's inappropriate to account for curvature.
Nah,
good enough for little rookies.
Here, the last guy that came on here that was arguing with Nathan about NASA. At some point, Nathan said it's observed and measured flat, and the guy said, "Yes, of course." Now, obviously, he's in the middle of scrambling and flailing, so he might not have realized that that's what he said, but that's definitely what he said. I heard it. So, yeah.
No, he was responding, yes, of course, to that assertion after being led to that assertion. They know it. Like I say, up until now, it's basically their mitigation.
You need a skull and crossbones stamp put on the side of your airplane, man, every time you shoot one down like that.
We're not pirates, are we? They're pirates. They've stolen flat Earth measurements to call their ball true.
Well, you're taking them out of the air, man. Oh, yeah, you like the Red Baron up there, man. That's how easy this is.
And Nathan going on their ship talking about, I'm the captain now.
Oh, man. It's going to be a fun year with this.
I think so. That said, the
So,
algorithmic
Planet
suppression.
Peterson says,
Go on, it's my bad.
he said, I don't think I would ever talk to these idiots. They're too hyper specific.
We're too hyper specific.
Yeah, that's a very telling statement. Why? Because the globe lives in
You know what I
generality.
mean?
Not really,
The
Mush.
globe lives in obscurity and vagueness and generality. If you get too specific, it becomes a problem. And you know what comes out after that? When you get too specific, it's so big, guys. Of course we measure it flat. It's too big.
And this is a science teacher, don't forget. Oh, I can't 100% be sure, science teacher, but a teacher. But I think he mentioned he's a science teacher. Yep, these idiots are too hyper specific.
Who? Peterson?
Yes.
He just sounded nervous.
For good reason.
Oh, dude, you gotta see him. You gotta see him biting his nails and like wiping his sweat off his forehead and like scratching his back and moving in the chair. It's hilarious. Like you gotta observe his body language. Like I think it's worth watching the video. Man, it's like 15 minutes long. Just watch his body language and his pupils are going left to right as he like you see him in a cock this. It's like I enjoyed it, man. And now he's looking for a low hanging fruit. He's looking for different flat earthers. Obviously, said he wouldn't talk to us. These idiots, they're too hyper specific. But he's also anti-Christian, anti-Bible guy. So he had a Glober who was a Christian debating him about some stupid shit, and this guy didn't know the arguments against evolution either. So it was a one big mess. But
You're saying
yeah, Peterson
he's decried talking to us because we're too hyper specific. Essentially,
correct.
Just declaring, I only want low hanging fruit.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Well, at least he admits it. Yeah, we're just.
You have to see the next flat earther. The next flat earther, he's gonna debate or whatever. He showed this dude. He has a whole bunch of face tattoos, and he's talking about some domes over the Saturn, like some insane shit, dude.
Yeah,
so he's just going
good.
for satirical content.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yep.
That's about your level there, Peterson. You stick to what you can do.
Glitter bomb.
I wouldn't want to take apart these hyper-specific people who know what they're talking about. Check out this tattooed numpty talking total garbage that I can really easily take apart. I'll deal with him. That's gonna look great.
Well, that clip where he said, like, I don't know enough to know the errors in what he's talking about. So if anybody knows more, please in the comments. He's pretty much appealing to people to educate him because he doesn't know enough about the subject. To point out the errors in your thinking. So he's appealing to people, his audience, to teach him. Like literally in that clip.
Well, I
guys like that have had
honesty. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, guys like that, this guy's real professor, what have you, they've had no idea that this sword has been sharpened for the last 10 years with those necks in mind. He's just up there at the chalkboard or whatever, I assume. I don't know if he's trying to propagate a channel or make money or whatever. But if he's just a professor, and he thinks he got his education, he's in there just teaching what he was taught, Yeah, I'm pretty sure this probably blindsided him with the amount of hyper specificity. Got him sweating. Poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, you go, at least he's smart enough to know his limits. No, I mean, it's
He's smart
sincerely.
enough to
I mean that
know.
as a compliment. I mean, back in the
That's what
day,
I was going to say.
there was a time where I was watching Earth discussions when I was brand new to this subject. I'm like, wow, these guys know a lot more about this than I do. There was me thinking I was a smart heliocentrist and I knew my stuff, and now I found out the Earth's flat. Then you come across Earth discussions and go, wow, I'm in over my depth. And I felt like he looked in that video. Like, wow, these guys would absolutely rip me a new one, wouldn't they? Based on my total ignorance that I thought was exemplary understanding of how the world as a globe worked. So now, standing in opposition to the world and as a globe and how it works, I see what my competition is, and I go, whoa, that's scary. And that's what he's doing to us. Looking at it going,
I couldn't
holy
agree.
crap, they know a lot more than I do.
I couldn't agree more with that, Nate. And he actually said that too in his last video. That's why I said it when he said, flat earthers today know a lot more than flat earthers from 200 years ago, from Christopher Columbus era. So he kind of admitted that flat earthers today know a lot more. He didn't go into flat earths. He just called us idiots once again. And this was was it a last night or 2 nights ago? He had a conversation with someone else, and that's what he said. So
Planet
flat
Peterson,
earthers today know a lot more.
he represents what the globers would be like. That's the Simandans and the Fight the Flat Earth woman beaters. That's how they would behave if they didn't have consensus. Because they've been given algorithmic success, they outnumber us in terms of their number of followers, viewers, subscribers, whatever you want to call them in whatever platform we're describing. And because they outnumber us, they can delude themselves into, doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong, more people believe me than you, which is all that they need, consensus. You know, I found that out pretty early too, from Steve McLeod of the Clan McLeods, or whatever he's called. When asked, do we live in a science-based or consensus-based reality? Answer, consensus-based. Now, I was shocked when I heard that, but that is the world we live in. We live in a consensus-based reality. Therefore, all you've got to do is give the opposing view to us, that's anti-flat earth, more numbers, and they will live in blissful ignorance, regardless of how right or wrong they are. Now, Planet Peterson doesn't have that luxury, does he? We outnumber him in this regard on this platform. So when he's looking in from the outside, it's a lot more terrifying for him than it would be for McToon or Simandan. Simandan can literally go, who cares? There's 3 million people watching. Who cares? And yeah, you can take that attitude. It's enough pain relief for them. It just isn't any pain relief if you don't have those numbers behind you like Peterson doesn't. Then you start sweating because you haven't got any address to it. Simon Dunn can say things like, oh, right, Nathan says that you and your reference frames as a quote is terrible for me, but I think he just likes watching Simon Dunn videos. That was his rebuttal. And his crowd of demented morons went, yay, Dan! That was all the rebuttal he needed to feel like he'd done a good job. Peterson knows the standards are higher for him because he's got to try and appeal to people in a way that has already been cornered in terms of just getting the consensus and saying that flat earthers are stupid. There's enough people out there already. So what's he got to offer? Well, he needs to actually address some of our points, and he can't. So he sits there sweating and shifting uncomfortably and admitting that he doesn't know what he's talking about, whilst making stupid idiot declarations about stars moving in opposite directions and various other things we're taking apart. Well, that's uncomfortable for him. So he has to project that out and go, no, this guy's stupid. It's like, yeah, putting me on your thumbnail drooling would work for Simon Dan because the consensus would watch that and go, yeah, you're right. He's stupid, isn't he? That's all they need, to be told that a flat earth is stupid by your estimation. But when you don't have a massive following on YouTube, that don't work. Then people are critical of your argument as opposed to your thumbnail. That's what he'll have been seeking, like Simon Dan does, but with consensus behind him, when he made a thumbnail with me drooling. Look, I'm showing how stupid he is. Look, it's him drooling. This is him looking and being stupid, therefore stupid. Right, okay. If that's the standard that gives you pain relief, make as many thumbnails as me drooling as you like. What's that?
Nathan,
You'll be talking to this tattoo guy about nonsense? Cool. Door's always open.
Peterson is avoiding the radiation, this hill, but he can't get you off his mind, Nathan.
Yeah, rent free.
Yeah. Yep.
You're not alone, Peterson. There's plenty of people just like you, but just with consensus behind them and greater popularity, that I drive absolutely insane. Dan's one of them. Every time he makes a new video about me, it tells me I'm there rent free. It bothers him how badly he messed up with you and your reference frames have been ruined.
He's like, I'm going to put a little drool right there. Drool. Side note, though, hey, Arwen. Arwen's in Discord. Grab some flat water, Arwen.
On his thumbnail, he's got me saying in a speech bubble, I'm stupid. SHTYUPID. Now, when I put words in, this isn't always true, but for the most part, if it's somebody I'm specifically quoting as saying something, I'll put their words in a quote mark, right? I did that with, what's that surveyor's name that Flatsoid had on? Anyway, this surveyor came on to Flatsoid's show, and in part of his discussion when he's describing Rise Over Run, he's like, it's flat, in his description. So I took that, cut it and edited it, and then on the thumbnail I put a speech bubble around it with, it's flat, end quote. That was on the thumbnail. Now that guy, Johnson, approached me really annoyed. How dare you put quotes around things I haven't said? I at no time have said it's flat. So I went and dug out the timestamp, presented it under his comment, and went, why do you need to lie about things that you have explicitly said and recorded and broadcast live? Yeah, you did say it's flat when describing Rise Over Run. Because it is. You don't need to deny your own quotes. But by contrast, Peterson doesn't have that. So he puts a little speech bubble with me saying I'm stupid, drooling. Shame. One day he'll get something good and be able to put it in quotes from somebody. And
well, don't forget about like run with a curved adjacent, as per your housekeeping. Rise over run would apply to that as well.
Yep. It won't make any difference. Peterson will outgrow us, all of us. He'll grow out QE, he'll outgrow me, he'll get bigger than all of us here. Doesn't matter.
Nathan, I thought when he spelled the word that way, I thought he was mocking the British accent. Stupid. But maybe I got it wrong. I don't know.
What word?
The way he spelled the word, stupid, I thought he was mocking the British accent. That's the way I got it.
Perhaps. Wouldn't it be better to mock something about my argument? Like stars moving in the opposite direction, for example? That's what I put in my thumbnail.
No. Why on earth would you think that would be better? Just having you drooling.
How embarrassing.
That's much better.
Say stupid, Nathan.
Stupid.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. Making fun of your blokeness. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. You know, an ad hominem attack is a fallacy, though, isn't it? So, by comparison, I would rather he attack the arguments. But apparently they're too hyper-specific. So just put a thumbnail up that says I'm stupid. That's good enough, right? Yeah, you're appealing to the lowest common denominator.
Logical fallacy is better than nothing. Quote Tim Osmond.
You're super quiet.
When all else fails, fling mud. Well, you literally had a short for a reaction video today, Nathan.
Yeah, it's because if we do a 15-minute video, we end up spending 3 hours doing it. Short video we can get done in about 20 minutes. I mean, imitation's the highest form of flattery, but I've just gone and dug out my thumbnail. So this is a response to the video, or the thumbnail for the video he's responding to, right? And in my thumbnail, I've got pictures of the stars moving at the equator in the same direction, and then him with a speech bubble saying opposite, which is what he said, right? And then you contrast that with his thumbnail, where it's not something I've said, it's just something he wants to believe. Not part of the argument, nothing. It's just interesting to compare the standards.
Well, yeah, that's a strange thing about a guy like Peterson. I don't think he's thought about having standards till now. When something like being hyper specific about detail has dawned on him to maybe include that in his own rhetoric, he's not prepared.
Yeah, he's obviously entered the discussion thinking these people are just stupid. And that's his base argument.
Now he left with a black eye and he's got things on his mind. Hair's a mess.
Well, he can share
It's
his
like, how
pain
did
in his
that
thumbnails.
happen?
Yo, man, room full of people, nobody talking, guys. What's going on here, man? Marvin, what's up, buddy? I know you'll talk to me, man. Hope you're feeling better, brother.
I'll say something. Let me say something. Quick question though. I've been following flat earthers for quite a while. I always wondered, why did Eric Debate? Why does he get so much views though? What do you guys think?
Repeat that. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that didn't come. Your mic is not so good, bro.
Sorry guys. Yeah, let me try this. Is this better? Hoping it is. I always watched Eric Debate, right? Back in the day. And recently I've checked him out. I saw a video pop up. And I'm like, okay, what is Eric saying? Then I realized he still gets a tons of views. And that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, why not? He's a very good videographer.
I guess. But I mean, ever since like 20, I don't know, I can't remember the year anymore, after Congress did that whole, culling of channels, everybody else was basically getting less views except him. And I've always wondered why.
Are you roundabout saying that Nathan should have the most views?
Well, I consider this channel as the source of truth for Flat Earth.
Yeah. Dubait's been around a while. He's kind of a grandfather and pioneer, as far as tenure. He's definitely got probably a pretty good set loyal following. He does get into topics like kind of an Alex Jones system. He got banned for talking about Hitler. You know, he covers a range. But Flat Earth definitely was a foot in the door for Eric Dubay. And I think he brought a lot of people in with some of his work early on.
Right on, right on. I mean, he definitely captured me. Well, after like the first couple of notifications, I was like, nah, this guy's boring. Then, yeah, I eventually went back to and watched it. So, very good content. Some of it.
Well, it's kind of like the thing about. Go ahead.
No, sorry, Ox. You go.
Yeah, I just so a guy like Eric, he'll cover a range, spectrum topics, and more and more people are doing that. Jaron, he covers a spectrum. So does Dave Weiss. Uh, they're not necessarily flat Earth loyal as far as the topics channel, meaning like they're not trying to exclusively block into only flat Earth for the channel. So, I mean, but then other channels are popping up. So we had this guy Pig in here yesterday, and he's very excited about information that he has. And he says, one of the first thing he says is, I almost got in an altercation with somebody that I know, fist fight, talking about this. So he's got a lot of zeal. But the thing is he got a little bit of information, right? Newly, and whatever the channel was talking about, he bought the whole thing, all of it, right? So just quickly into everything's only a vibration, right? Without kind of vetting step by step the things that he'll import as an individual, right? But then he goes out and he's speaking this because of his excitement, probably prematurely before he's concreted things even for himself. He wants to go share, right? As if to maybe help people or whatever his motive, I think people get this kind of information and they want to go share it as if to say, hey, everybody, did you know? But I think what people are finding out as this goes on is that face to face usually turns into confrontation and has no end benefit. I think people are noticing that more and more. So setting up kind of Nathan's not a monologue aspect, but it's a hub for people to come talk about this. But like a teacher, if somebody's just telling you things and you're there to listen, there's no confrontation. You can import it or not, your choice, But people are getting out speaking about this. First, they're looked at as tinfoil hat because you're automatically lumped into every other what has been generally termed as a conspiracy theory, right? So, I mean, these decades ago, I mean, people that were conspirators were where kind of this tinfoil hat aspect came from. These people, so to say, didn't have their feet on the ground. So there's been kind of this waxing of that term applied to anybody that would believe in flat Earth. But the thing about those other channels is they cover all the wide range of, say, like what Alex Jones would cover. They get into politics and different things like that. But Nathan here is like a department, a very specific department, So if you're talking about like numbers, things, we have to help Nathan. Because if you find this valuable, he's not going to get the love from YouTube. just like Peterson wants to avoid it. They don't want to look this way. That's going to be the rinse and repeat. It's not going to be any love thrown this way except for people like you guys, kind of see through things and who might take the tangible effort to go click a button and share it or somehow get a word out in a way that's effective. You know, place it before people to make up their own mind. Like probably all of you entered this arena on your own accord. I bet you weren't confronted necessarily, and somebody just told you everything you think is wrong, and you were like, "Oh, well, thank you. I'll start walking this way now," without some sort of wrestling. You might, but probably the way every one of you got on board with this was you came to the water on your own accord and wanted to know more.
Came to the water and was told the water was safe and effective. It really, really wasn't.
I was just thinking, I mean, how can we learn from these channels, and how do we grow this channel? Because, like I said, I do take this as the source of truth when it comes to flat Earth. Nothing is, it's just accepted at face value, and there's value in that for me. I did try the share thing. I did try the TikTok thing. I tried a lot of things, right? And I don't know what else to do from my point of view. So my question then gets thrown back at Nathan, right? Or this channel, everybody in here. So what's our objective for this channel?
You asking?
If I'm speaking, go ahead, Nathan.
I was just asking who he was asking, but obviously it was an open question, so feel free.
Well, in my opinion, speak for Nathan, but to deliver this for guys like you, to deliver exactly what you find valuable, this specific niche department, to get a real grasp on where you are at in reality. And if anybody finds that important, then Nathan does his best to keep this information bleached, clean. It is moving. It is a living thing that we're doing here, trying to get to the bottom and navigate with people. Right? The information doesn't change, but the relay, the deliverance, that's what Nathan's trying to do every single day in here without leaving this particular department. So it's not going to give you how your life will be better or spiritual advice or anything like that. This is a very good first step. You want to start exploring more from the foundation. It's very valuable like that.
But the foundation are the core principles that Nathan held on to and set out with when he started this journey, and they've practically never changed. It's just improvement in other regions that he has been improving. That's what's improving, but it's been super consistent, and it's the core principles that keep us all together. That's what we should carry out no matter what we believe in. If you still hold on to key principles, and even if you still believe things that aren't true, then that core principles enables you to go on a journey where you will find out and eventually overcome the illusions because of the discipline and the method.
Lauren, I don't understand anything you just said. I caught the tail end of it. I'm just applauding and I'm so happy to have you back. That's all.
High five, Arwen.
Just saying hello.
Great hearing you out.
The path that got us here is quite detrimental, in my opinion, to a lot of the people that go through this subject matter and come out the other end like we have. Now, it's all well and good as saying, the vitriol we receive is water off a duck's back. But I don't think others who haven't spent 10 years in the subject are going to be that resilient. And it's the old doctor's adage, isn't it? Do no harm. Well, if we're introducing people to the subject matter in the way that it is typically introduced, with a lot of conspiracy surrounding it, then I feel we are doing harm. Now, if you come to the subject and go, oh, we've been deceived in this particular subject, and I know that's the case now in terms of flat Earth, then there's a good chance that you're going to naturally progress to thinking, where else have I been deceived? But you won't be on a footing that says there's Illuminati controlling whatever conspiratard nonsense that comes alongside flat Earth. That, in my opinion, is very harmful.
You made a good point there, Nathan, though, that it's almost like once the levee breaks, you begin really looking around. If you can get the people to the gate, and you are in the best possible way, for them to start asking more questions on their own that you don't have to provide answers for, but it sets a perspective. Wait a minute, this is not, this experience I'm in is not what it appears. And as soon as people can just get a critical, if you can help, and you are getting people to that point of truly, genuinely thinking critical, without fluff, without ego, stuff like that, the things that we hide from ourselves, right? People that altruistically want to know this info. I think that's good though, because it's like Steve says, once he figured out we didn't go to the moon, that's when he started looking around at everything. So you're kind of a crux like that here at this channel, Nathan, in my opinion. The first domino.
I mean, that'd be great if it was true.
No, I think it's the method. I think it's the way you have done it and how you relentlessly believed in your methods and still would be able to spot when you were wrong and then correct it without much harm done to you, right? I mean, other people might go crazy over how you done it because you can be kind of merciless, but it's worked. It set the standard. It set a standard. You created a bar where there really wasn't a cohesive bar, Nathan. And I think
thanks.
we all thank you for that.
I don't know if I have to set any standards, but I just see nonsense from people who are coming here from conspiracy and don't like it. And I see people perpetuating new conspiracy like ether, and I don't like that either. And when the guy who was here yesterday, Pig or whatever his name was, he was talking about how he'd ended up in physical altercations or on the verge of physical altercations because of peddling this information about ether that he hadn't validated to another person. And you're like, does that not strike you as detrimental? Not just to the subject, but to all parties. So if you're one of the people peddling ether, I see what you do as detrimental to society. Literally. I think it does no good, and in fact does great harm.
Well, it intellectually sends you into the weeds. That's what it does. Because you're going to be now contemplating things that will find no resolve. Right? They're unsolvable. They're aberrations. Suggestive, interesting, playful, esoteric maybe even, but there's no tie down to anything physics related, really.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? Because there's no issue with people looking into this stuff and going, well, we might find some answers in this subject if we dig deep enough. And then you find that there isn't. Or alternatively, you find that you think you've got answers in the form of things like Michelson-Morley. Someone comes along and says, no, that is definitely not proving your point. Far from it. Quite the contrary, in fact. In fact, there's many aspects of what you claim inside your presentations that are debunked from within your own presentations. Particles. Well, when you take those things into consideration as somebody who's peddling ether and then go, sod it, I'll do it anyway, then there's a massive problem, in my opinion. Listen to what people are saying.
Yeah, because you're violating it. Oh.
I was just going to say, when you listen to what people are actually saying, so when we're charged with answering their questions about this conspiracy that they perceive it to be, you listen back to people like Conspiracy Cats or that guy who gave a massive strawman sandwich, quite a popular YouTuber. But when Conspiracy Cats was interviewed by Haunted House, and he's basically telling the audience all of the things that he would have to contemplate independently. He's not saying this because he's been fed them by Haunted House. He's saying these are the things that next man in the third person would have to worry about if Flat Earth turned out to be true. All these other things would have to be put under the scrutiny and under the microscope because there's a good chance they aren't true either, and that's terrifying, right? Well, those are the general concerns that are attempted to be addressed by the conspiratorial road that flat earthers have walked upon. So they go, well, I can explain why you're being controlled in this aspect through this conspiracy. Look, I've got a prepackaged answer for you that's really stupid and make me look like an idiot. But some of the time, people buy that conspiratorial nonsense and will peddle it to next man, and then the next thing you know, all your family hate you. Personally, I haven't fallen into that trap and peddled all sorts of Illuminati and whatever the garbage roads that I've seen and found offensive along the journey. Everyone around me seems to latch onto these stupid subjects where I'm in vehement opposition to them. You name it. Adam, you've been along there in the same attitude as me most of the time, right?
Yeah, it all depends on what you're going to see as the Illuminati.
Say again, Arwen?
It all depends on what you're going to see as the Illuminati. I still think that model-wise, esoterically, there's still something to it. It's just not the way people typically think it is. It's not like these guys that have absolute oversight and they're just scheming and scheming like devils, like that. It's rather like something that overcomes certain types of people in a moment. And they kind of lose themselves. They become possessed. And then they do this, like with extra dimensional insight that's like surreal. And then they come out of it. And they often don't even realize what they've done. That sort of thing. I think that is what the real Illuminati effect is among some of these powerful people. And they count on that, on doing that. But yeah, I mean, it is conspiratorial thinking. Huh?
Go on, Chocolate.
So what up, Arlen? Where you been? Come on.
On the Flat Earth Early Bird Show, as always. I just thought I'd pop by and say hello.
Well, yeah, I know that. All right, here, buddy. So let me get this straight real quick. So Nathan, you said somebody came on here yesterday and said they almost got into an actual physical fight over discussing ether.
Yeah, Pig. He's the one that's pushing ether. He claimed he almost got into physical altercation, but meanwhile, the day before, because I shouted him down, I was a mean bad guy.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
It ain't worth fighting. That's for sure.
Bro, you know how funny it'd be if somebody wanted to fight me because I didn't believe in the globe? You know how funny that would be, especially in my face. You all emotional and shit because I told you don't live in a ball that you can't prove that you live on anyway. And you want to fight me about it? I make fun of people like that. Why are you so emotional? Why are you in your feelings right now? We're just talking about measurement. Talk about the ground. Why you got feelings about the ground? I got feelings about the ground. It's just flat. Measured and observed that way. What's the problem? I don't understand. Why are you emotional? Why are you crying? Fuck out of here.
Well, NASA a bunch of lions, and then he lunges at you.
It's because people that hold their most precious. Sorry. Just wanted to say it's because the people that hold their most precious dreams hostage told them it was a ball.
You know, it's the fact that chocolate made them come to the realization that they're stupid, and that's frustrating.
You know your camera's on, right?
My bad. I had my mouth all up on it.
Showing us his chicken.
My bad.
I put it full screen.
You made me hungry.
Hey Nathan, who was the guy that Mighty Mush posted like 5 different little clips talking about he wanted to challenge you about evolution and all that crap?
Planet Peterson.
What's his problem? Besides being stupid.
Earth is flat.
And about stupid, ignorant.
His problem is that it would be inappropriate for us to measure the curvature of the Earth anyway. So that's what the current problem is.
He claimed he
Nobody
didn't know
ever
enough about
measured the
anything, but
curve.
he still called us all stupid.
Nobody ever measured the curve. They just calculated it.
Hey Neil, that's just like somebody that never been to Europe, and you have been to Europe or anywhere else, and they're like, well, I've never been to Thailand, but I know over there they don't sell rice. They don't eat rice. I don't care what it is. How can you even argue or disagree on something that you haven't touched, smelled, seen, felt, been around, experienced?
Well, because they think they're in a winning position. Earth is a sphere. Everyone knows that. We're just dumb flat earthers. Well, these dumb flat earthers now have measurements. Silver bullet, right, Nathan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it wouldn't have made any difference if Peterson had invented the YouTube fray 3 years ago. He'd have still had just as much trouble.
Well, then if you present measurements and empirical evidence, then the denial is then cognitive dissonance, right? It's beyond arrogance, ignorance. It's cognitive dissonance.
Zealotry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Neil.
When I think of what Nathan just said about not associating ourselves with the conspiratorial nonsense, right? Then I'm thinking maybe that's the thing, right? It kind of makes you like a target audience smaller. So when you're segmenting your market, right, you're looking at who you want to address and who you want to sell your product to. That will definitely cut a lot of the people that's in the sort of flat Earth community, quote unquote.
Yeah, I agree. If you've come to this arena by means of being attracted to conspiracies, and you've looked at 9/11, and you've looked at lizard people, and you've looked at the Illuminati, and then you've looked at flat Earth, and then you've looked at vaccines, whatever. If you're of that ilk, and you come here and go, "What? You're not telling me about the fantastical nature of free energy?" Well, this isn't very interesting. I already knew that the world was mapped flat. It's so obvious. Yeah? Well, then, yeah, they're not going to be that interested because what have we got to offer when they're looking for fantasy? Well, we don't offer that, do we? But for everybody else that could make their way here, that isn't interested in conspiracy, and would be more or better served by just hearing the nature of Earth and how it's measured, they will benefit greatly. And we won't be doing any harm. We could just carry on speculating about Antarctica, right?
Oh, hell no, please. Please, no, Antarctica.
Not what?
The question is with Antarctica, do we go through it or over it to the south?
That conversation with my colleagues just like a few hours ago, and I'm not doing that again. No, please, no. It's still flat.
I'm saying we shouldn't be speculating about Antarctica. While we might discover what is further out in the unknown realms, we don't know what's there, and what they've given us to speculate about is Antarctica. Whereas it's far more beneficial to just show how the world was charted. Edgar,
I'm much more interested.
Go on.
I was going to say personally, I'm much more interested at what's beyond the north. Right? That's so much more paradigm breaking from all sides to figure out that there's actually more space to the north. I mean, goodbye, disc earthers. It was very while it lasted.
Our compasses point to something. I would definitely like to know exactly what that is. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's
Well, that's a magnetic pole. That's a point in space.
That's what Nathan's trying to tell you guys. You're not getting it.
No, they're not.
I mean, all those things are just speculation, right? You need to focus. Focus on flat Earth, what you can demonstrate, and make it easy.
Exactly.
Thank you. Speculations. You can have those things, just don't put them out there as subject topics that we need to bring up like Antarctica on the show and stuff. We don't need to do that. That's a waste of time. Just bring up the solid flat Earth proofs and be done with it. Just keep doing it.
Exactly.
I agree with Huey 1000% because a majority of flat earthers have come from that piece of nonsense, speculative stuff, such and such. But when you come here, when you get to this level, FED level, it's like coming from pre-kindergarten, preschool, talking all of that Antarctic and holes in the center of the earth. But when you get here, there's no place for that. You're in a university. You're in Oxford. You know what I'm saying? You need to discuss facts, empirical evidence, measurements, things like that.
We still have territorial curiosity, right? There's some consequences of
not in the classroom.
figuring
Not
out
in the
flat
classroom.
Earth.
Not in the classroom. Talk about that on lunch break. Talk about that in the cafeteria on your own time. But when you're here, or when you're talking to somebody that needs to learn it, or that's on the fence about it, or who's opposed to it, don't bring that crap up.
Well
They'll
said,
rip you
D-Rod.
to
Well said.
shreds. Thank you. But QE started it. He just got me rolling. Thank you. Thank you, QE.
Well, let's take it away so it's not Arwin that's being attacked on this, because Witsit also did it. So last time I brought this subject up, I'm trying to explain to him how it's a flat Earth proof if you show how the maps and territory were charted using the stars, and he got it. But then when I explained that I would prefer that the argument didn't span into the speculation of Antarctica, Witsit's response was, well, yeah, when there's far more interesting stuff to speculate about in the north. I'm like, oh, way to miss the point entirely. Yes, there might be interesting lands in the north or south that we could speculate about, but we've also got maps that don't have new worlds on, and then do have new worlds on, and the way that we navigated and charted and then eventually mapped and measured every bit of that territory was flat. And I can prove that that new world wasn't there and then was, and was discovered in what they called outer space, and there's absolutely no contention that someone can say, oh, so is there a wall there? What, on this mapped and charted? They know the exact height above sea level for each and every bit of land in this particular territory that didn't used to be on the map when we were charting it and measuring it and mapping it flat. But what, I should speculate about the bloody north because I've said don't speculate about the south? Yeah, that's not getting my point. It really isn't.
I'm with you. I mean, it's all measured flat, but I mean, there's still wonderment. I thought that you of all people would appreciate the wonderment of, hey, what maybe the way we get to see certain animations or maps like gatekeep what is actually there, right?
No,
so
I'm not going to gatekeep
it just
anything.
leaves this wonderment, like what is there? There could be something there, maybe there isn't something there. I'm fine either way. I'm very satisfied knowing that the Earth is absolutely flat, measured flat, and navigation works because of that. But there's also just these mysteries that come with that, and that tintillates me. And so I like to speculate about what
that's been the pitch, though. The problem is that's been the pitch. Look at how exciting the speculation of free energy is. And it comes with flat earth proof on the side. No. I don't mind if you want to speculate about aliens, ghosts, otherworldly spirits, multiple dimensions, time travel, speculate away. But just don't incorporate that garbage into something that is cast iron proof that Earth is flat. So when I hear Witsit saying, I can prove the Earth is flat by offering up a false dichotomy between gravity and electrostatic forces that I will call ether, therefore proving Earth's flat. It's like, no, Don't steal the valour of something that I can categorically prove and then put a full stop at the end of by then linking it to your garbage speculation to offer fantasy through speculation. Now, that's not to say that what I have peddled in the past as a bonus of coming to Flat Earth, which is the not knowing what the sky is, but what I'm saying is, beyond my joy about not knowing things, as much as positive spin can offer, it's not going to be used by me to say, not knowing what the sky is, ergo I speculate it is unicorn farts, is a proof of Flat Earth. Well, don't you want to know what the sky is? Well, we've just debunked space. Surely you can now tell me all about what you think the sky is. Who cares? It's a completely different subject to a cast iron proof of how the world was mapped and charted. Now, if I round off that really good point by saying, and let's speculate about an area we could argue about for 3 hours, when all I want to do is put a punctuation mark at the end of, here's how it was measured, here's how it was charted, it was all done flat, and here's how the grid that you use on your globe was measured, flat also, and then put a full stop.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And if you're in a debate with a baller, I definitely not bring up, oh, what could be beyond the north or the south as an argument. It would only come up in casual conversation. Definitely not an argument in a flat earth debate. I agree to that.
Well, there you go.
What I'm saying is,
then you agree. So not in flat earth debate, which is what we do specifically, especially on the live show. Don't get me wrong, outside it, like discussing what is essentially live show material worthy is outside the parameters of the live show itself, like now, discussing it. Me saying I don't like speculating about what could be charted when we have charted it flat.
yeah, pretty much that.
In doing that, though, we just need to then be aware that we are cutting the market out. I'm not saying we should speculate at all. I just say that we should be aware that there are people that is speculating, and we did come into this arena with all that stuff there. It's like I'll make a personal example, right? When I do my reporting, right? When I first came to doing reporting in my organization, I uncovered that the reporting was incorrect, right? I can't just not acknowledge that the reporting was incorrect. I need to acknowledge that. And if people still want that report, I need to explain why that report is not relevant, because the statistics that I'm reporting on refutes that report, or it's just incorrect. So you need to address it. Otherwise, you're just cutting people out of the conversation. Not saying us here or whoever, but I mean, it is something that is out there. So people are talking about it, and it seems to be getting a lot of views. So whether or not we're sitting our corner and cut it out and ignore it, well, that's fine.
What was Adam the other day that had a spill that I really, it really resonated with me because and if is Adam here?
Yeah, man.
Oh, you are here. Yeah. More or less, he was telling one of the Ether believers about, how did you get to flat Earth? Well, you raised your standards of proof or evidence. And you waded through all the horse shit to get where you're at. Now don't drop your standards now and start speculating on what things are that you don't know and it possibly will never be known. Don't drop your standards. That really resonated with me. I don't know if you should clip that up. I think it was on the Land of Misfit Toys.
Yep, and I agree with him 100%.
And I totally reject that notion. Vehemently. Yeah. It's what I do, and nothing's going to stop me. If you don't want to associate with me for that, fine. Then don't associate with me. I'm not going to do it here on the show, on your show, but I am going to do that because it's what I do.
Then do it on your own show.
I just said I would. Don't tell me what to do, Neil.
What the frick you doing here anyway? Did you apologize to anybody?
Shut up, Neil.
No, he didn't say anything to you.
Don't
so
worry
fine,
about it.
I'll leave. No worries.
Hi, Neil. Adam, can you expound on that? Are you able to talk or are you working?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I've been trying to sort of fence out with all the high winds. My fences have blown down, so I've been. It is that for me. You entered this to try and get some truth. You realised something was wrong, and you applied a set of standards to the stories you were being told about what reality was, and they got you out of a lie. You realised the lie. And it literally is, as you said, just, why would you change those standards that you used to appraise reality? Yeah. Why would you change them and lower them, knowing that you're not getting the truth anymore? You're not proving anything anymore. You're using Occam's razor to help you decide what reality is. Why would you do that? Why would you spend all that time and effort to get off a ball and then convince yourself back to lower your standards? You know what those standards are. Because say previously you might not have done. You might not have known the best way of judging reality, but now you do how to prove things to yourself. Why? Why? I don't get it myself.
No, I agree. It's like dealing with forensics. You can't mix forensics with speculative theories. You have to use what you gather from the forensics, from the evidence you gather, the data, to find out what happened, what was the cause. In the beginning, you could talk about motives and all that other shit, but at the end of the day, you need to have that the forensics data. And if you convolute it with anything else, you could fuck up the whole investigation to find out who was there, the DNA, whatever, whatever. Oh, sorry. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand with Adam. I agree with Adam 100%. There's a place for it. It's not on here. It's not on the live. It shouldn't be on any pro advocate of flat Earth at all when it comes to the speculative stuff. Let that be on, those video channels for that. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Loch Ness, center of the Earth having a hole in it.
I'm not talking about those topics. I'm talking about trying to paint a new paradigm, right? Making up your own physics to tell people what reality is, and knowing that the standards of proof that you're using are lower than what got you out of the hole in the first place. Why are you climbing back into another hole?
Got you. I got you.
Because you're giving the people what they want. People want that fantasy. That's all it is. It's popular. People will appeal to it. When someone in the panel said, "Oh, you're going to lose a whole load of flat Earth audience," yeah, all those conspiratards that simply want the fantasy and don't get it here will be turned off by us just offering facts. Because facts are boring. It's proven, measured, flat. Oh yeah, okay. Well, once you know that, is that exciting? Has that got loads of potential? Has that got loads of excitement for free energy? No. Does that explain long lost lands that had energy distribution through the sky in Tartaria? No. That's what the people who've come to this subject want. I just don't want to be one of those people.
Well, you can refute every one of those speculations by the nature of those speculations, as in what it actually would require. If you try to simulate all these ideas, you will run into dead ends. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's perfectly fine to speculate as long as you then accept, when you get a proper analysis of it, that there are dead end issues. When there are dead end issues in it, like that's it. That's over, right? Just like, mountains are molten buildings. Just immediately, because it's like, yeah, you can immediately point how that's definitely not the case. Yeah, it might take a little bit of effort, but there's no point in ever considering that in any way. See? So you can judge free speculative ideas just fine, as long as you use a very rigid standard. Like there are certain things that turn over time that become more and more immutable, like how the Earth is measured flat, and that there's celestial navigation because of that. etc., like those become more immutable over time despite all the protest from the outside. But that doesn't mean that you can't then still speculate in between the spaces that are left uncertain, and then still use
maybe
the
you can, but
standard as a comparison to judge it.
maybe you can
And that's what
speculate.
you
But I'm
have
just
done.
saying, I think it's bad when we are generally a considered group of idiots by the general populace. If what people come here is in any way leaving a door open for, if we only speculated about one thing in 100 things discussed, that would be the angle that our opponent would take to attack us on every single time.
Yep. And it leads to a dead end. And not only anti-flat earthers, because they're going to do it. If you bring it up, it's like, hooray! It's a get out of incoherent jail free card. Hold their feet to the fire on what we can prove, what we know, and end it there.
Absolutely, in a debate, totally. Totally.
Not in
There's no other way. Don't bring up anything that's like, that leaves any room. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. And teacher, you don't have to be in a debate. That's what we're talking about. That's what we educate people on. And leave it there with a period or an exclamation point. And then when we get off, in the never after show, even then, it kind of it sends freaking lightning bolts down my spine. If you just come out with some if it's got a little hair on it, right? And then we can go through it logically, scientifically, if that's the case, we'd apply our tools that we use to get where we are. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But even then, in the never after show, even then, you pretty much know where most of our positions are. You're going to go through the crucible, right? No matter who you are. If I bring it up, people are going to put me, and I love it. They're going to put my nonsense through the crucible. That's what it should be.
Well, I've been through the crucible with my ideas, so yeah. I mean,
not my
you're not
crucible.
telling me, it's not like I forgot everything that I've experienced here in the last week or anything.
I'm just suggesting a massively higher degree of vigilance amongst all of us in regards to how we generally behave and what we generally talk about. Now, I'm not putting the kibosh on speculation. I'm saying that as a representative of Flat Earth, I feel the only appropriate way to behave is to be hyper-specific about everything we talk about and limit what we talk about to only things that prove the point.
Right. Well, even on my show, when I face ballers, and they do come in there, and sometimes I do let them question and get all oppositional. And then I definitely stick very rigidly to useful, provable arguments. And I don't draw in any speculations because it has absolutely no relevance to trying to make an argument against an opposing baller. So that already happens. But what I do on my own time and how I like to entertain myself and others, yeah, I mean, free speculation, that's what keeps it alive. So I'm definitely not going to cut out of that just because I am considered some kind of representative for Flat Earth. I'm sorry. I don't get paid enough for that.
And that's the point I want to start on, right? I fully agree with that. The only problem is that there is channels out there that do that, and they get a lot of the views. I'm not saying that this channel should do that at all, but what I would like to see, because like I said, this for me is the source of truth for Flat Earth, right? Because I speak like that. If I can't prove something, if I don't have evidence for that thing, I'm not going to speculate, especially when I'm talking to a normie or somebody that's interested. The only thing is, how do we expand the target audience so that they are aware that this is their approach and it should be their approach? You know what I mean? Or is that even the space that we want to play in? I don't know.
It's a good question.
when you're dealing with the glober and your approach actually makes said glober actually assert himself that the Earth is measured flat and that it's too big to measure any curvature. I mean, wouldn't that, or doesn't that sell itself a little bit? You know what I'm saying? It's like that sells itself. Like, oh, I'm looking for this argument that'll make this glober, go back on his words or just negate his own claims. Oh, what's that? If I tell him it's measured flat, he'll agree with me? Thanks. I'll take that. I don't see what the problem is after that.
It's always fun to bring up the Black Swan and then arguing, no, it's refracted, and basically then clarifying, oh, so you mean it isn't in its geometric position? Like, yeah. We don't see the geometry of Earth. Thanks. Good times.
Oh, what are you doing, Adam? What are you doing?
Isn't he fixing his fences?
There's got old images of Antarctica up. I can't hear what's going on. The family have fully moved in now, so I can hardly hear much.
I was wondering whether, well, I've realised now's not the time to maybe bring up proof of the ice wall, because UFO data showing how you navigate underneath the ice wall to escape to Hitler's hidden lairs via Asgard.
Oh my God.
Woo!
No. No, I'll drop that then.
Aww.
I'm going to get called a killjoy now, aren't I?
That was to exemplify the nonsense, wasn't it?
Hey, you'll be all right.
If you want to present it, feel free. Or was that sufficient?
That was sufficient irony. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to round out then. With that, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Jupiter's panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!